have a problem.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Heliopsychosis podcast. This is your host Vikka Draziv, guys. Welcome to the show. If you're watching us from YouTube, do comment, like, share, and subscribe if you haven't. And if you're watching us from Flat Earth Research Network Group or Heliopsychosis, do comment and tag your friends. And when you do comment, make sure you allow StreamYard to show your name, because if no, we cannot see your name. We can see your comment, but we can't see your name. So welcome everyone there too. And finally, if you're watching us from RTS, realtruthseekers.com, yes, realtruthseekers.com is one of our main sponsors. And yes, unshadowed and uncensored platform. So make sure you guys check out for some amazing content there. And they do also have RTS shopping, and you can find amazing apparels and t-shirts for amazing designs. And do also check out Density Clothing Company. Awesome prints and designs for Flat Earth or anything personalized could be ordered there. Amazing quality too, by our friend Kevin Bobick. So welcome everyone there too. And yes, today's topic is also one of my and many people's favorite too. And let's jump into our host. My host, Chini Edited. Everybody know him from our production team. Chini, how are you?
Hi everybody.
We don't hear
Hey,
you,
Vikka.
Chini.
What's up?
Oh, yep.
Vikka. What's up, brother?
Yep.
Thanks for the invite. Thanks for
Awesome.
putting the show together. How you doing? Everything good?
Awesome. Great, bro.
Very
Interesting
cool.
topics.
Oh my God, yeah. This is an ancient topic, guys. This goes back to the beginning of history and covers throughout time, throughout so many cultures and religions and all kinds of everything. This is what we're covering. This is about cosmology that's in the sky and what people used to know and what we still know, but we're figuring it out now. Because when you get to the modern times in the past 500 years or so, everything changed into what we're being presented with in the school system today. So thanks to everybody for being here. Thanks everybody on the panel. Great to see you guys. It's always great to see you guys, and everybody in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. Hope you have fun. Hope you find this topic interesting, and try and get on the show with us. Come and ask us some questions and say hello to us, guys. And it's great to be here. Good to see you. And Vikka, thanks, bro. I know you're busy. Thank you so much for putting the shows together, brother. Love it.
Oh yeah, welcome, bro. Together,
Thank
bro,
you.
we all are doing it together. We all are giving time and energy and effort to bring the truth together. So
Yeah.
we all are part of it. So And our next panelist, everybody know him too, Keith Cameron. How are you, Keith?
Hey, Vikka's doing real good here in Florida. It's hot, hot, hot. So I'm ready for some cool weather, but I enjoyed the pool today, and I'm looking forward to this talk tonight. This is one of my favorite subjects, history overall. You know, as we have been taught it and what we've been told, the things we think are true. I think most of it is bullshit, to be honest with you. I think a lot of it, if you go back anything beyond 150, 200 years, a lot of that is highly suspect. A lot of it could just be made up stories. I actually like to call it the government scriptures and say that the government scriptures are false. And one of the Globers I was talking to today on Facebook, he said, "What are the government scriptures?" I said, "That's the stuff you were brainwashed to believe that you're unwilling to question now." So, and it's not just about the globe and flat Earth. Anything about history that we've been taught through the government school systems, we should be questioning all of that. And I think that's part of what we're going to do tonight and share some of the hopefully insights from each of us on this subject. But I love this.
Oh yeah, definitely, Keith. Like 85% of history is totally crap and lies. So, and the real truth, they put it out as myth and fantasy. This is how they play around, you know. So, welcome, brother. Great to have you too. And our next guest, James. James, how are you, brother?
Hey, brother Vikka, how you doing? Pleasure to be here, man. Thanks for having me back. Really appreciate it. It's always I look forward to these shows. Sometimes with a bit of anxiety, because I mean we're talking in front of some people that we really respect, and we know that we're gonna say some controversial things, and sometimes we're gonna ruffle some feathers. But it is interesting to just sit and listen sincerely with you guys to see how your life experience has shaped your views of what we possibly could be living on, right? That's what I'm kind of looking forward to tonight. So thanks for having me, and great to see you guys. It's awesome to be here again.
Absolutely, James. From every angle and every aspect and every input and every opinion is important in our research, in and that's what we're trying to do. So, oh yeah, we're having a great time always. So, welcome,
Yeah,
brother.
man. Thank you.
And our final panelist, everybody know him too from Density Clothing Company and also star of Flatten the Curve, Mr. Kevin Bobby. How are you?
Very blessed, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show. Such an honor being with you guys yet again. I love collaborating the information we always have. I love getting the different angles of different views, and this is a very cool subject for me as well. I've looked into back in 2019, so a lot of this will be a refresher for me. But yeah, I get a little nervous too, as well, James. The amount of people that actually watch this show on RTS is quite incredible. If you can put that into perspective on how many people would be in a crowd, then yeah, we're speaking in front of thousands right now. So, which is very cool. But it's why we got to be the leaders and stay calm, cool, and collective, and always respect each other and show peace, love, and kindness in everything we do. So let's go ahead and start the show. Do appreciate you, Vikka.
Oh yeah, brother. And yeah, nothing is scripted. You know, we are speaking the truth right there, live, pure, original, straight from the heart. You know, nothing. So always good. So if we just sometime go really haywire, so people could understand, you know, this is life. So welcome everyone. So if
Yeah, man.
flat Earth, if flat Earth was a psyop, then all cosmologies too should be a psyop. You know, because many globers things and they say that the flat Earth is a government control information to really make people go crazy or whatever. You know, divide whatever. You know, so but this is not what we see in all the ancient cultures from thousands of years in all different traditions. You know, the the creation stories, if not the same, it's very similar with different variations. It's because the information, the core information or the root information is the same. That's why we have there's so much of similarities about all the different cosmologies that exist. You want to call it cosmology, you're gonna call it faith, you're gonna call it religion, you're gonna call it race, you're gonna call it whatever, a country. So have you guys seen the similarities of all the different ones?
Yeah, I actually watched the video that you sent to me earlier, Vikka. I was very impressed. For the record, Vikka had made a video on this same subject we're speaking upon 4 years ago. So Vikka's definitely the teacher here for sure. I was very impressed with that video. A lot of the ancient cosmologies and ancient artifacts have a lot of similarities, and I think it's kind of hilarious to denounce the flat and motionless Earth if you're going to go into the historical facts of archaeology.
Exactly, because the books is one thing. Okay, all cosmologies have books is one thing, is a written, is a literature, but constructions, countries in the name of for example Sumeria, and Mount Meru, and all the constructions that exist, which shows of different levels that exist, the ones we live on the surface and the subterraneans and the higher realms, and that how these realms are inhabited by different beings, mostly human beings. There could be some mutation, some different kind, or some other level of evolution, or maybe we are in the middle of materialistic and spiritual. Some would be much more spiritual maybe, and some would be much more less spiritual and more materialistic. So everything is possible on this plane.
Mm.
So
I like that analogy, Vikka, because there really is a mix going on right now of spiritualism and materialism.
It
oh
seems
yeah.
to me when you talk about those two things, the materialism is so shallow and unmeaningful and unfulfilling.
Yep.
But for people who
You
are
go.
willing to go into a deeper spirituality and consider things, and even be able to live in a place of mystery and wonder, and the beauty of this planet, or excuse me, planet. See, it's so deeply indoctrinated in all of us. But
Happens.
the beauty of this realm, and when you tap into that spiritual side, it's just deeper to me. It's more fulfilling. And I think of a lot of the ancient cosmologies and the ancient cultures that were here on this plane, it was they lived with that. They were more connected to that than we are today. I think this
Yeah.
materialistic society has taken a lot of meaning and purpose away from people.
Agree,
Yeah.
100%, Keith. Absolutely. And the TV is the worst culprit, portraying all this Walt Disney stuff to everybody.
TV and radio both. I mean, I turned it off
Right.
years
Yeah.
ago. I listened to it once in a blue moon, but God, I turned something on just 2 or 3 days ago. Tried listening to some right wing radio, and it sounded exactly like it did in 2008. I mean, the names
Yeah.
have changed, but
Sure.
the stories are the same.
Yep.
They just keep people in this endless loop of meaningless stories.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's okay to watch because but not to sink yourself into it, right? It's kind of good to know what they're talking about here and there, but it's like you said, it's always the same. It's just a loop, though. Also, different names, different places.
The old Zig Ziglar used to say, in the morning when I get up, I read the Bible and then I read the newspaper. That way I know what both sides are up to.
That's
That's
clever. I like that, guys.
that's
That's
just it,
good.
guys. With the globe, they control both science and religion. So they control both sides, one or the other, and you have to take your pick. So that's why
Right.
we're like, no, we're not believing any of that. At least I'm not. And that's what I really want to say. It's like, just to be clear, and I like being honest and sincere, I don't subscribe to any religion, and I don't affiliate with anyone. And it's probably best that I just be honest. I don't have any education beyond college, and I like it that way. I don't want to change anything. I don't want to open any religious Bible because I want to allow my own opinions be developed from my observations and also kind of what I learned intuitively along the way. So that's how kind of my background came about to being in this conversation with you guys. Kind of a different path, and I'm really intrigued what your paths were too.
James, I can relate with that a lot, especially the last 5 or 6 years of my life. But I grew up and studied the Bible. I did a little bit of studying the Bhagavad Gita, and you know what Vika was saying a little while ago, that there's so many similarities from these ancient cultures, or and that have these ancient cosmologies that were all the same, of a level realm that's an enclosed system. But I don't throw the Bible out, or the Bhagavad Gita out, or the Quran out. I mean, I think there's some good um, wisdom in all of those books. But
Yep.
ultimately, like you're saying, James, I agree with you that we have to rely on our own experiences. That's what shapes us more than anything. And when we look to a book of history, we don't know what has been removed or what's been added. We would have to take all of that by faith. And I argue with Globers almost every day that all they have for the globe is blind faith. They don't have an ounce of empirical evidence. So when it comes to history or religion, you can take it by faith, but what we're living through now through this flat Earth movement, and it definitely is. I mean, I became admin for another group yesterday that had 11,000 people almost yesterday. Today it has almost 12,000 people. It's grown almost by 1,000 people in one day. So something's happening again with flat Earth, and people looking into it and researching it. But I would hope that everyone listening, and I know all of you guys do, you're doing a lot of your own experiments, and you're not just taking Eric Dubé's word or David Weiss's word or Vika's word. You're actually out there looking and researching for yourself. And I think all of us recommend for everyone listening to do the same thing.
Oh
Exactly.
yeah,
It's
well,
great to stay open minded on all aspects. You know what I mean? You can't just, like I've said before on the podcast, we're not know it alls. You know what I mean? We're all here with 2 ears open, you know what I mean? To listen, to actually observe and know what's going on around us. Observable, repeatable, testable experiments are very important, but it's also important to know to look into other cultures and other religions or other beliefs or whatever you want to call them to know their side as well, and not just be like, oh, I'm right, you're wrong type of thing. I'm dogmatic, I'm always right, and you're always left type of thing. That's what they've been trying to do to us the entire time, like the whole left and right donkey and elephant thing. You know what I mean?
Cat
Exactly.
and dog.
oh yeah,
One, you have two choices, right? Is it globe or a circle? Take your pick, and it's never neither. And that's kind of my angle is. So we won't get into it at this moment, but yeah, guys, I question the AE circle, and I really do, and I really would like to tell you how, and that'll come later in the show.
Sure, I
oh
don't think
yeah.
any of say,
Spiritual. Yeah, go ahead,
go
Keith.
I just
No,
said I don't think any of us can say 100% that the AE map is correct. I don't think any map is actually correct. So James, we're with you on there. You're not the black sheep here thinking that the circle doesn't work, because we don't know exactly what it is.
Well, thanks for
Sure.
saying
most
that.
of our
Thank you for.
yeah most of our discussion, James, is not the usual dogmatic stuff, because we research and we speak and we share all the different possibilities of every aspect. We do that in most of our subjects, and that's what we've been doing from most of our all the previous podcasts. For example, would be the Antarctica thing. For example, the Antarctica treaty, or the eclipses, how it works, or any other aspect. So we are all open for every information that could be possible. So, and one thing, yeah, the other thing is that spirituality is one thing and religion is one thing. you know
Yeah,
and
Yeah,
absolutely.
two very different things.
yeah, it's really two different things, and we are all really mixing everything up with the situation, with the spirituality and the religion, because the real essence of religion is spirituality, that you want to really connect with everything, and or the creation, you want to really connect with it. That's one thing, that's the real root of religion. But what we have come to the present, it's a haywire, it's all chaos. But there is some real essence of truth there in every cosmologies. Because if you see all these books and if we see all their constructions or whatever, it's written in stone what they're trying to portray to us, you know. And the important is to just see the creation story and the way they're trying to portray it about it. So that's so that we don't mix religion with what the creation story is about and the cosmology is all about. You know, for example, this one of the main similarities is like you see that pyramid shape, you know, of levels
Yep.
Yeah.
in all different ones. Yep.
All of them. Vika, how did they know? How did all these different cultures, dozens of them, you go through the alphabet and stop at every half of the letters and go through 6 different cultures with those letters, so many cultures knew about this design and this attitude and this way of speaking to each other. And so like I just question how they knew that. And the buildings, you bring up the stonework written in stone. Some of the buildings these that were built, these temples were just absolutely outstanding and pretty impossible to build if you understand like excavating and building and surveying how they do it today. It's
Oh
funny
yeah.
to think about what they had and what we do now. They're building 2 bridges in my town right now. One is like 150 feet. They're there for 6 months right now. These guys, it's ridiculous how backwards they have us going. Those
Yeah.
buildings were spectacularly beautiful, untouchable.
Some of those
Yeah.
buildings, I totally believe we could not replicate them today. They're just as impossible on the outside as they are on the inside.
Right?
The inside of some of those domes are so huge and massive and intricately carved. I mean, and the outside
Oh,
of those buildings have perfect symmetry. They have
yeah.
sacred geometry. They have cymatic patterns, all built right into the stone structures. And we don't build anything like them today. And
You
all of those
can't.
cultures,
You can't
all of those
square off
cultures,
like that the way they did.
yeah, and all those cultures knew the Earth was an electrical, topographical, stationary plane. And a lot of them built their buildings in perfect alignment where the sun and the moon lines up, where things on the outside and the inside of the building, where the stars line up with them. And we don't
Yep.
do anything like that today.
Well,
Oh
I,
yeah.
I,
And the best part, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I just say, Vikka, because yeah, I mean, they had an absolutely different understanding of what our realm is, right? And I think
Oh.
they they knew
But
precisely,
collectively,
yeah, right. And this supposed, it's interesting to go beyond that and say, okay, how are they pulling off this deception? And it's like they've got us all tricked into believing that horse and buggy guys built these things before the electrical power tool. And I'm thinking, why don't we
yeah.
all just, okay, so what did they know different precisely, right? I think they knew earth energy different in a nutshell.
And atmospheric energy from directly from
Good,
the sky itself.
good point. Good point. Yep. Isn't that
Oh
the
yeah,
word that
definitely.
the ether is what we're talking about? Yeah.
Yeah.
At
Oh
least
yeah,
that's what I
and
see.
the yeah, because if you see these some of these temples in Angkor Wat in Thailand and Cambodia and all these places, you have the stupas in the Buddhist places
Right.
also represent the same. Then you have those Indian temples. Then you have the pyramids. Then you have the Mayans, the Incans, uh, the Hopis. So what they're trying to show is the same thing, that they're showing the steps that go and how these different planes exist, and the top plane is supposed to be the Mount Meru. Where is the north? Where is the Polaris? Where is the central tree? So most of these cosmologies speaking about the same. For example, even in the Christmas tree, what is the star doing on the Christmas tree?
Mm.
It represents the North Pole. It represents the Mount Meru.
That's right.
So all these constructions that exist, it's a way of evidence of showing that it's proof of flat Earth, because they have 4 directions, the way everything else move. There are so many details if we want to really look into it.
Wow. And the tinsel can be like the layers too, Vika, huh? Never thought of that, but the Christmas tree.
Oh yeah, you
Wow,
have there in
interesting.
front, right in front, but the people don't want to see. No, this is just a tradition. But yeah, it's showing you that shape. So of the upper world and the inner world and the center. So imagine for us and even for flat earther, it's so important this Polaris, this North Star, this Mount Meru, because it destroys the globe in every aspect. Because that's where the
Fantastic.
center is. Where that's where, and it's representing in every culture and in details with their names. You know.
So it makes me think of two things. The Nazca lines always kind of made me wonder if they had dirigibles. So, but last week or week before, we were talking about the stars and the moon bringing information to us as well. So I wonder how they knew across the board. Like, it's making me think of, the pyramids are making me think of the star forts and the cathedrals that are placed in pretty strategic places all around the place.
And how about the temple in India, the one that lines up and the sun is rising in each of the holes successively, bottom to top? That's really intriguing. That really is interesting to me because that is one of the main issues with the circle. So therefore, it keeps me in an honest, open position to say, "Holy smokes!" Even though all these stories we've been told about different cosmologies, maybe it's interesting to explore, a different concept.
Yeah.
James, I don't know where that is located, like latitude and longitude. But if it is further south, especially if it's south of the equator, I don't know. You guys can correct me. Then the sun would appear to be in a straight line longer than if it was, higher in the north, much, especially if it was much further north of the equator, where it has a tighter circuit around Polaris or around the center. So that might be something to look into, is to see where that temple is.
It's about 10 degrees north of the equator, and temple is in India. It's called Pa. Here we go. Just 2 seconds, guys. While I look it up,
Oh,
it's just
there
in.
are many temples, different temples, which in India and in many different places in the east that really are built upon the equinox and the solstice,
Oh yeah,
and you can literally see different phenomena happening, astral phenomena, and
for sure. It's just intriguing to think that, man, if it's possible that this thing is not a circle, it's, what else could it be? Like a square. That's why I got drawn to Enoch to really study it. That's just very important that I say, all of these cosmologies that are presented to us of different cultures and beliefs, they all showed a circle. Do you notice that? Not one of them says a square.
Right.
That to me is intriguing. So it's like, man, they're trying to keep it so secret that we will never investigate it. That's why I went there, guys. I'm really, really, it was exciting. I wanted to tell you about it tonight, what I discovered, because man, it woke me up a little bit more.
No, for sure. We always appreciate your investigation, James. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like you said earlier, every ancient depiction of Earth always has the circle. And then we
and the
can go into
square
the
and the square and the circle again and the circle, because that
with the
square representation could be just a part of this plane, a central part of this plane, or near the center. Because if you really see those models, those designs of the ancient cosmologies, which represent Mount Meru, it shows uh, like a square around the circle, around the magnetic mountain, and then again the circle continues. So it could be that it's the part Enoch is trying to explain is just that central part of the world, of the plane, of the realm.
exactly. That's why the
So,
North is always in the middle.
and the
Well,
four
hey,
sides. To Yep. Go ahead.
I've just, if planes going overhead, if you can hear, and I'm just, it's very intriguing because the points I'm going to make of what I believe tonight, I know that it's going to cause problems. And that's cool because, hey, man, the truth is not easy, guys. That's what I've learned in the past couple months. It's like they provide information and I reject all information. So it's interesting. It's like when you have that approach, man, it shapes you differently.
Yeah, definitely. Me and James were talking the other night, like how pissed off we get
Oh yeah,
because of how much they've been able to pull off and blind us with. You know what I mean? So I don't blame you at all for even questioning it at all. But at the same
well,
time, you have to go over what's observable, repeatable, testable.
sure. Absolutely right, and that's why it's like things that they can't lie about are what are going on in the sky above us, because they
Right?
can't hide that, man, and that's how we're going to figure out
Chemtrails.
what's going on. Yeah,
That's what the chemtrails are for, partly too. All of our ops have multi-level reasoning behind it.
Hold on, Gene. Hold on, Gene. Are we allowed to say that? Because
Uh,
I know we have to be extremely sensitive over
I,
YouTube as of right now.
yeah, could be, but
what do we do now? Talk loud?
you know,
Hey,
No,
hey,
actually, don't
hey,
hold back.
hey,
Don't hold back. Let's go.
signs and symbols will be their downfall. So we got to start talking like that.
Yeah, straight up.
Well, yeah, but when I say all information I reject, I literally mean it, guys. Everything. Okay, and that's just not me being stubborn. It's like, no,
The
anything
reflex.
yeah, anything that's
Yeah,
provided, I don't
yeah,
want to hear it because they control both sides. Man, that's
yeah.
when it's like, all right, so then well, what are we living in? That's why when I messaged Vikka today, we were sending back and forth, and just simple statements makes you think of something else, and then all of a sudden you have a new perspective, right? Because I never thought to say what I said about a Merkaba and Kabbalah until I heard that on a podcast, and maybe it struck
Mm.
something with you about, is this place we're living on possibly a Merkaba, right? It's, man, it's an energy, it's a frequency with a shape, it's producing something, right? So who knows,
Oh
right?
yeah,
You
if
take that.
we too have the Merkaba inside. If we see into sacred geometry, everything is supposed to have that sacred geometry from the construction to the whole this creation. We ourselves, the Fibonacci sequence in the nature. So we have that aspect of that sacred geometry in us. So I I could say that I felt that, if we really feel ourselves, we human are in a form of Merkaba. If we see it into a three-dimensional, five-dimensional energy, so why not the Earth, or why not the center?
Right.
So when we were speaking about the Merkaba, and I sent you one another image about the Mount Meru. It's a three-dimensional image of Mount Meru, and it looks like a Merkaba from
Exactly.
the
I
top.
saw that too. Yep. I saw it too. And that's why I said it. So, okay, a shape has an energy. And that's pretty much what we're getting at, as to, what was this information that they are hiding from us so badly and doing anything for us not to figure out what it is. So we all have a Merkaba. The earth is a Merkaba. Holy smokes. What can we do with this? They don't want us knowing. That's what we're all here to
You
kind
know
of
what?
explore tonight. Right?
What they're hiding is that, for example, the pyramid and the eye above is the same representation. It's the same representation
Yep.
of our Earth, but it's been
Mm-hmm.
demonized for Illuminati, right?
Yep.
So they are hiding things, but they are also putting things in front of us. But most of, including us in some way or some sense, are indoctrinated to not see that, because we have that wrong information given to us from very small, which just stays on us. And even now, for example, this example, the representation of the pyramid with the eye on the top, or you can call it the third eye, but then we are going in a direction where the people are like, oh, this is all is demonic, this is all is magic, this is all is. That's why we don't explore. The same reason we spoke about the swastika also, why it's so hated sign, but it's supposed to be one of the most harmonic signs, which
Yeah.
in another way proves that we live on a stationary plane. And so,
Agreed.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, James, I agree with how you handle information and you kind of reject it. I I'm similar to that. Whereas, like, I like to listen to them so you can flip around what they are saying, because they are telling us things. So you can't just disregard it, but you got to really be careful with how you interpret it and watch it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I always pray that I have intuition and discernment before
right,
we go
yeah,
into subjects and actually learn it.
yeah. Clarity and discernment, my two favorites. Absolutely. Just please
My
let me see and let me be able to tell.
yeah. My take on it is the energy around us is sensitive to our feeling. So it's really like having also a metaphysical background. It's interesting to explore that concept of how we are kind of doing things that they get nervous about, right? Like such as seeing into other realms and using the energy in our favor, right? I mean, really, this is kind of it seems obvious to me that this is what they're trying to disguise. Do you guys feel the same?
That's why psychedelics are illegal, right? Because
Yeah,
they
Hmm.
open our pineal gland, they open our bone, which is represented in the
that
back
could have been the
of 13
forbidden
very
fruit, right?
evil.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
cool.
is.
Right, the
But
forbidden fruit
even
was mushrooms, probably.
even Jesus Christ says, "Keep your eye clean." It
Mm.
doesn't say plural. It says, "Keep your eye clean," meaning your pineal gland. That's another reason I went so deep into fluoridation. Is fluoride calcifies your pineal gland. So they're literally trying to calcify our spiritual realm to open up to see things that we shouldn't. And this is supposed to be esoteric knowledge to them? No. There should be exoteric knowledge for everyone.
Yeah,
Oh
the
yeah,
pineal
because
gland is,
the ayahuasca, DMT, mushrooms, or any psychedelics, the whole different kind of indigenous people we've been using, trying to connect with the nature, with the creation, and it's been used for thousands of years, and it was their way of getting the information. They didn't have any computer or internet before, so
Hmm.
I'm just joking. Go ahead.
No. Esoteric meaning information intended for a small group or a certain amount of people that have a personalized interest in the subject. Exoteric meaning information intended for everybody. You know what I mean? It should be information intended for everybody instead of them just holding it to themselves. But like, oh, we have this pine cone on top of our staff and we're the Vatican, but we're not really going to tell you what the pine cone means. It's like, are
yeah.
you kidding me?
Oh
They're putting it in our
yeah.
face to begin with.
Or why
Oh
they wear that
yeah,
fish
exactly.
hat.
And same thing with the flower of life that we were speaking, that they have the lion protecting the flower of life. That's sacred geometry,
The
and they
flower of
are
life, the only one that was a globe, the only one that was a sphere. That was very clever of you.
yeah, exactly. So that's how they hide the information right in the face. And if anybody else try to look into it, oh, this is, we know what.
Yeah, labeled.
Man.
They're very clever, though.
We're not saying that they aren't. You know what I mean? That's the thing about it, though. Is that's why they're scared of people like us, right?
Do you ever
Exactly.
guys
They
look at
don't
that
want. They
though?
would
I'm sorry, Vikka.
go ahead,
Go ahead.
James.
Oh yeah, just touching on what you said there, Kev. You know, they if they are providing no alternative to choice A or B, that shows that they have done this before and they know how to control an awakening, right? So therefore, we got to really question even everything I find, and that's what's kept me intrigued about the Enoch Square. It's amazing. It's like holy smokes! It explains how they've been doing this, and this information is compelling enough to say that even the circle is enough to say, no, man, that's not it. That's not it because they've planned these awakenings. That's my take on it. It's interesting to say. Thanks for accepting, a chance to tell you guys how I'm feeling.
No,
I'm
that's
not trying to.
actually 100% correct because if you look into the Illuminati cards back in 1995,
Right.
Right.
it has a flat Earth card that says the
A
flat
square.
Earthers know something, blah blah
Yeah.
blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? But they knew this awakening was going to happen. That's why they put the controlled opposition and the psyops in place before we
Hmm.
even got to research it and got to know about it. That's why
Yep.
there's people like Eric Dubay and Mark Sargent and all these people that were put into place way before we even like were introduced to the subject.
Good.
So that's why they already knew what was happening. This is a game of chess for sure. It's a information war as of right now. So that's why we
They
need to
just
take
lost the
over and take
queen.
over this.
Right. I mean, yeah, right. Like, and did you guys see the public backlash? Like, did you ever go onto Twitter and see all the defiance? And it's like, oh yeah, we're waking up. I don't
I
know.
think it
I,
has a
Oh
lot to
yeah,
do with the veil being lifted. Like we're
well, yeah,
helping the veil being lifted for everyone. So now everyone's being awakened a lot more quickly.
yep.
I was even
yeah,
talking to a
and
girl
flat
the other
Earth.
day. Go ahead.
I'll go finish it, Kevin.
I was talking to a girl the other day and she was like, "Oh, well, if you're a flat earther, that'll just be the end of the game, die dada." And I was like, "Well, what if I told you I was an enclosed cosmologist? Would that make you feel better?" You know what I mean? And then what I did is I told her to watch Flatten the Curve, and then she responds back and she's like, "Whoa, now I have a lot of questions to ask you." It's like it was that quick. It happened like overnight for her, when other people it takes months and months and months back in 2015, 2016, you know what I mean? But nowadays it's just happened a lot quicker because we're lifting the veil, so people are opening their third eye or their eyes to begin with to awaken to this movement a lot faster, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad all of you guys have thought about those things. I wasn't really sure because, you know, it's one thing to be very blunt about, you know, how we feel about the beliefs and our affiliations, and it's this week has taught me just that it can offend, and for whatever reason, that is a sensitive area for sure. So that's why conversations like these, I find it's just best to be as sincere as I can, and without a filter of trying to appease someone or anyone. And I think that gets more respect. So thanks, Kev. I'm glad you have thought about it. Jeannie, I can tell. And Keith, absolutely. And Vikka, holy smokes. The more I get to understand you guys, the more I feel I can talk freely.
Absolutely, man.
Oh yeah.
Trust me, brother, there's no judgment here. That's not our job.
Okay.
Exactly.
We're not trying.
We're not making things up. We speak up what we feel from the heart. Go ahead, Jeannie.
Yeah, no, exactly. We're not making stuff up, and we're eliminating what can't be true. And we're not trying to carve it in stone for other people. We always suggest to go do your own research. Maybe we'll bring up new topics. Maybe you come back with other new topics. That's why we appreciate
Oh yeah.
everybody that's with us and listening. This is just great. The chats are blowing up. This is awesome. Love you guys.
That's
This is
great.
so
You
cool.
guys, it's a great group. I'm new to the Vikka group, and man, I've already met some cool people online. They know who they are in Albany and Upper Maine.
All right?
They're
Yeah,
cool people, and explore these questions too, right? So this is beyond just the 5 6 panelists and beyond
right.
7. It's like,
Yeah, we got a
man, you got a
bunch of
pretty
great
good
people
chat.
we're surrounded.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
way to go, Vikka. Good job. And all you guys, man, you have a great, Keith, your books, amazing, Kev, your passion, your research, and Jeannie, man, I could just tell you're on par with what I can say anything to you too. So great.
Totally.
Glad to talk to you guys.
Much
I
love,
don't give
brother.
this world much faith, I'm hearing
Yeah.
everything. I understand it's a real world, but I don't know. There's other worlds, and they're right here.
Yeah.
How you say bird of feather flock together or something like that. So it
That's right.
attracts.
Right.
It attracts. Magnetic. We also how you say the information or the words we share everybody with everyone. So it's electric pulse. And we are electric too. So we really feel that. That emotion, that energy inside those words. We really feel it, even if we are speaking from hundreds and thousands of miles from different places, but we could feel that energy, even if it's in a text form. So we should always take care when we have different opinions and different views and and we are sharing and we are speaking, and also during the text or messaging, because that energy really passes on because of that electric nature of us and the information and the connection between all of us. So
Yeah.
100%, brother.
Uh,
And you know, we are just dropping seeds, guys. We're not putting plants in your head. It's just seeds, and you can grow them or not. The seeds are for the individual to nourish, not for us to, right? Well, I don't, you know. So
I think
your thoughts just seeds in my mind, and I nourish those thoughts, right? And that's what we all offer to each other.
yeah.
Right.
You just gotta lead a donkey to water and not let him drink, and lead him to knowledge and just let them think.
Nice.
oh yeah.
I know there's people in England and New Zealand listening. The only thing I think is like when anyone can get over that fear of judgment just to speak up, that's the only thing that's separating this thing from taking off, right? Like it took me a while for sure, man.
Absolutely.
It's when you know it that something's wrong and something can be done. That's when you take that step to say, man, I'm going to do something about this,
Exactly.
right?
Took me
Like,
2 years before I decided, hey, I'm gonna fight this fight. I think it's worth it. I think it's deeper than I realized. I still think it's deeper than I realize now. And I think about that sometimes. What's the purpose of this? Where's this all going? We have this
Right.
knowledge in my prayer time. I'm like, God, what do I do with all this? So I just help the people I can. The people who are indoctrinated idiots. I just ignore them and move on and just look for the people that are asking and the people who want to know. Some people we're not going to be able to help. Obviously, a lot of people we can't help, but just to help those we can. And I think eventually, whoever God is, the creator is, I think in whatever connection that the ancients had, I think a lot of us are in a journey or a process getting back to that, to have a deeper connection with our source, whatever that is.
Definitely, but there's also just to rebuttal off what you said, Keith. Seeking you shall find, knocking the door will be open, asking you shall receive. There's certain
Yeah.
people you can lead knowledge to, and you would just be better off talking to a brick wall. You know what I mean?
Right.
I remember telling my friend, I've probably told you guys this before. I've told my friend before, like, I could throw an alarm clock at you and you still wouldn't be awake.
We all
everywhere
are
like that. it,
we
but
all
that's
are
why.
here because
Sorry.
we are supposed to, right? Go ahead,
Yeah.
James.
Well, yeah, that's just it, right? We seek people to connect with about this very topic because, as Kev said, it's like talking to a brick wall sometimes with people in your personal life, right? So, man, that's why to talk about it, even if it is virtual, it is helpful and therapeutic. It's also we get a better idea of what's going on just by talking to you guys. Just it's awesome. Thank you.
No, we could be doing the same thing with on another channel, discussing a cake recipe or something, or anything else. But we are
Right.
here trying to decode flat Earth because
Yeah.
that's inside us, that making us do this, because that's why we're here, right?
Yeah. For sure, man. You know what the rest of them are doing? Probably like watching football. Come on, give me a break. Man, we are just, we're doing the most important thing, guys. Just thinking about this massive, amazing thing we're living in. It's like, well, just saying, the five of us here are surrounded by people in the chat who very well, come on, guys, you guys know what's going on too. And I'd like to see
Yeah,
someone
as you mentioned,
speak
James,
up.
also in one of the podcasts, that it's solving a puzzle. It's one of the
Yeah.
most important, complex puzzle could ever be, because about decoding the shape of the Earth, and against the controllers, against the the deceivers, who doesn't want the humanity to evolve, and that's where they're catching us, everyone by the balls, as you said, like religion and science, right? So
And sports and entertainment, you name it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Give
The
them
Yeah.
bread and
distract.
circus and they won't revolt.
Yep. Bread
Yeah.
and circus.
Yeah, right. Bread and circus, right?
Holy smokes.
You
Now,
know, 90% of
go.
people won't get that. 90% of people, maybe 95% of people, if you say bread and circuses to them, they're like, what the hell are you talking about? What's bread and circuses? Oh, just watch your football game. You'll be all right.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, exactly. Man, it's like everything has been thought of. Every single angle of trying to corral our consciousness into not doing something about this or waking up. It's just like, okay, well then, goodness me. If they've done this, it's like, what do you think is the best thing we can do? Because rather than try to expose the negativity, do you think it's best to focus on something positive in the same, that's what I'm faced with, a dilemma with. What do you do with this awakening? I'm sure you guys think of that too, right?
Absolutely.
How to
Yeah,
stay positive about it.
Yeah,
we've
we all.
brought that up once or twice, and this is, it's like they're organized, very highly organized, and that's what we're doing. We're figuring this out. Um, we got scattered about, and now we're finding each other. We got the right questions. We're looking in the right places, and that's important.
Exactly. And the truth is gonna be truth, even if you are the last person on this earth defending it, right? So
Very true.
Yep.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a battle
It's
between.
funny. Years ago, I could bring up space, and that's what I would talk to anybody, anywhere, anytime about. Oh, you know what they did in NASA, blah 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 blah, and oh wow, it captured their attention. And now I jump the fence, and I'll do the same thing with this side of the story, and I'm like, wait a minute, that stuff's all wrong. It's really this, that, blah 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 blah, and they're lost. They don't want to hear it.
Right.
Strange dichotomy going on with that, and that's what strangers in stores or family, friends. It's very similar reactions. They're like, they tone out, they zone out, and they tune out. They want to hear it. They're like, strange. It's very strange. So I got a new thing. I'm going to start walking around in crowded stores and have a make believe phone conversation with a and like, getting on the back of the line over and over again and just keep talking louder and louder.
the earth is flat. The earth is flat.
That's right.
do,
Water's flat. Water cannot curve. I'm telling you guys. No, space. No,
do,
there is no thrust in outer space in a vacuum. And it just.
do you
I
guys
really,
do you guys do this too? My
I'm
latest
gonna,
thing Sorry, my latest thing is when I get a a telemarketing text, or I just start waking them up to flatter. I go deep too,
By
right?
the
Like
way,
really deep. Do you know that light is both a photon and a wave? Do you know that? And then, oh goodness! But then it's just sometimes you get one who already is awake. So it's amazing to see that it's spreading, man. Like it's not a surprise to run into anyone who totally agrees with, yeah, you're right about everything about, like,
Because
the earth
yeah,
being flat.
yeah.
Right, we're
yeah,
not
because
that far out.
it's so absurd that even you don't need to be really clever or smart to see the BS with everything. So even a little bit of common sense, only using common sense. You don't have to be intelligent, you don't have to be scientist, you don't have to be you know a scholar, or you don't have to be nothing. You could just have common sense, and you're going to really think, and you can see the deception easily. So that's why it's now possible to find people you say, yeah man, could be possible, or the same thing happened with the moon landing hoax people, or even as I was mentioning before too, yeah, in the groups of global earthers, they make fun of themselves with the James Webb and every aspect of NASA, because because the subconscious have the true inside. They cannot really hide it, right? That's what I think.
Artemis was a wonderful failure because they just couldn't do that again. So I think what they're doing is going to help push people over too. I really do. I think they're weeding us out because this stuff is just so obvious. How many obvious things are you going to overlook, guys? Right? Not that I'm talking to anybody who overlooks this stuff, really, but I mean, when you run into people, it's like, I don't understand.
No,
There's
it's a
some
good
people.
point. I actually looked up Japanese ancient cosmology of the Earth, and one of the
Okay.
first maps that came up was an azimuthal equidistant projection with the outside land masses. It's like, okay, so now they're just putting it in our face, like they want us to research it almost. You know what I mean?
Right?
That's what brought me to Enoch, Kev, because they don't want us they provide it, but they don't want us paying attention to what else it could be. And I know it's like I want to have that talk with you about, because I know you like to really push my views, and that's great about you, you know, because you keep me honest, and I know that you can go at it with me versus AE versus Square, and that's kind of what I want to talk to you about. Maybe we have a chance tonight, you know.
Maybe off of the podcast live chat, but yeah, anytime you want, brother. You already know.
Not as a defiant debate, but more so to test whoever might be right. Just to say, you know, like I have compelling info which I want to share with you about why the AE map has issues for me. And I know you can defend it very well. And I'm pretty sure Keith and Jeannie and Vikka all can too. So man, without kind of trying to dismiss that model, it's just intriguing to find your guys' responses to some of the things that I found.
Definitely, we can just write like across a T line for the pros and cons, like I did with my baby mama, the goods and the bads, and then find out who wins.
Yeah, but without saying it's
That
a
was supposed
win,
to be a
right?
joke, but whatever.
Because then it becomes a spontaneous
Right.
debate that's developed. And I don't want that. It's already stressful
They
enough
also,
trying
they
to
also
just right.
they also say that at the base of the magnetic mountain there are supposed to be like four gardens, heavenly gardens, you know, and lakes in the four different directions, you know, of the rivers that flow, that we also spoke about in our one of our podcasts. And as you were mentioning, Kevin, the yakut in the Japanese culture, it's called yakut tree. It's
Yes.
supposedly inspired in different traditions, like the upper and the lower worlds, and you know, can be divided into several levels, often 7 to 9. You know, the center of the earth disk, like a wall mountain of wall pillars that links the middle earth with the lower and upper worlds. You know, so
Hmm.
that's how it defines in the Japanese cosmology.
Man, I want to I want to respond with man, but it's like, okay, what if I said to you, Vika, that it's possibly there are two polarities, right? There's a line of equity and there's two sides. Couldn't that mean the Japanese model might be a little suspect? I haven't looked into it. Can you briefly summarize, or Kev, tell me what's this about? Is that possible? You guys can explain this model better for me?
It's not a model; it's just a representation of their central tree or magnetic mountain. It's
Right.
not speaking
Okay.
about the whole model of the earth. It's just speaking about the center, according to the Japanese tradition, what
I
is the
see.
tree called and what it's represent in a way. It's just speaking about one area of the plane,
I gotcha.
and which also speaks about those four rivers, speaking about four gardens. You know, in the biblical is mentioned the four rivers. In the Vedic also is mentioned four rivers. In Mercator map, what we were discussing also speaks about those four rivers in the center. So it's not just a one thing. We were just being specific about the Japanese model. It's
I
saying
see.
about the same thing. Yep. Go ahead.
So it's kind of like religions, right? It's all kind of the same with a different kind of twist. Is that correct? Because I remember I'm asking you guys from a point of view of I've never opened any Bible or any book's religion, and I've never explored any other ancient cosmology beyond just periphery, listening to the odd, you know, podcast. So therefore,
James, we don't need to go in traditional religion of what each religion says about. We are just discussing the creation, the bodies exist. That's what we are discussing. It doesn't have nothing to do with the religious aspect of these faiths or what they
I,
practice or what they believe. We're just talking about the creation story, how their world is. So and they are trying. Each of them are trying to describe how their world started, how it looks, how it could be, what could be happening. they're trying to put it in their words of that era in most simple possible. And what we are seeing here is that it's just similar, and it's very, most of it is just similar with different variations. That's it. So
Exactly. Ancient depictions of Earth, yeah, you can't put in the same category as religion, but like I said, we're not talking about that tonight. When it comes to me specifically, it's more about relation. You know what I mean?
I
Relationship
see.
to me is priceless. That's why I love having a relationship with you, Vikka, Gene, Keith, James. You know what I mean? That's more priceless than religion, than anything. Religion, I've heard, has a synonym of just something you do repetitiously, like people do in church. They stand up, they sit down, they are praise, or they praise
or the
whatever,
laws.
the laws, and they're only there for a certain time. They only go on Sundays. That's something you're doing in repetition. It's like religion. You know what I mean? Relation has a different aspect of that. But when it comes to ancient depictions of Earth, it's almost it is in a different category. You know what I mean? So that's what we're trying to stay on topic of, rather.
Okay, yeah, I see. It's sometimes difficult to differentiate between the two, though. That's why. But I understand. Yeah, it's better. Let's focus on the cosmology. Totally. Yep. You know what I mean, right, Kev? It's like, okay, if you introduce this model, then perhaps it's believed by this religion, and that's what I'm trying to get at. It's like, okay, you can separate the two, but evidently it's going to come up. But yeah, I hear you. Not in this conversation tonight, but it's hard to separate those two. Is what I'm saying.
No, I feel you, brother. I feel you, brother. You know what I mean? Thank you for opening your mind and even asking the questions, and even stating the statements you are.
No problem.
Exactly,
I
because
think the
what
cosmology
we are
came
trying to,
first.
yeah, Jeannie, go ahead.
I was thinking the cosmology probably came first before the religion. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. I think that
Well, I would agree with that when it comes to a scripture for sure.
okay, makes sense to me that way, and then followed by
Exactly. So
stories of it. So
okay, so
In my
in the Vedic culture, go ahead, Kate.
I was going to say, in my opinion, a lot of the religion that we see today may not be as old as they claim it is. You know, a lot of it could just been created by the controllers, um, whichever religion you want to talk about. Like I said earlier, that the history, anything beyond 150, 200 years, we don't really know. I don't know if you guys have looked into. I think it's Anatoly Fomenko's work. He's a mathematician from Russia, and he has a whole series about history is a lie, or history is it fact or fiction, and about how all the timelines are completely crisscrossed and messed up, and this story that we think is 2,000 years old might only be 500 years old, and this story that we think is 500 years old might be 5,000 years old, and there's
right.
so history, and religion is so intricately tied into all of that, that we just don't really know. But I think what you guys are saying, that the cosmology came first, that makes a lot of sense to me.
I think so. Yeah, and
Oh
then they
yeah, and
just
what
came
we are
up with
trying to, yeah.
that,
Go ahead,
brother.
Jeannie. No, go
No,
ahead.
and then, they got the story, and then they just twisted it up and fed it to everybody as reality, like they do.
Like they do with everything, it's been perverted. Exactly.
Yeah, twisted. It's backwards. It's upside down. It's missing pieces. It's too much here. It's too little there. It's everything distorted. But you could dig out and you use your clarity and discernment, and you can sort out the nonsense and come out with the truth. Right? Because
Exactly.
if you can eliminate the lies, then all you have left is the truth.
Truth always prevails.
Yeah.
What do you
Oh
guys
yeah.
think? What do you guys think is probably the most likely cosmology truth? Anything that comes to mind, like just briefly? Are you leaning toward one ancient cosmology that said that's probably it? Like,
It was
when you
so
think,
No.
familiar. They're so similar to each other.
Right.
that's my
As
point,
far
right?
as yeah,
That's
no,
my point.
there's very
They're all
little difference. Names are different. The story's the same.
they're
Yeah,
all kind of
Place,
telling the
the,
same story.
Yeah,
yeah. There's
because
so
the truth is one. Because the truth is one. There cannot be 10 different Earths. There is one flat Earth with one realm, and that's what every races have lived on, and that's what they're gonna
Yep.
speak. They're not gonna make up anything out of, you know.
just NASA, just the
That's the new religion. No, my
That's
goodness.
you look at them all. There's how many? Seriously, there's dozens of depictions of the ancient cosmology being similar with, with the
Yeah,
coverage of the Earth. You
you had
see
a whole
all.
civilization called Sumeria in the name
Yeah.
of the mountain, and then we have the Meru in the Vedics, and then you have the
Oh.
Mount Hara Bazerati in Zoroastrian. You have the Mount
Wow.
Kunlun in the Chinese, but they all are saying the same thing. This in the
Known
Chinese it
as
says like feature as a.
Very.
Yep, go ahead.
known as the land of a thousand names, the North Pole.
Exactly, and in the Chinese also they say in the Chinese cosmology it says like they feature a mountain called Kunlu, and with a bronze sky column at the top, where immortal dwells, also called as the Pearl Mountain, a paradisal home, same thing with four large rivers, and even the Mongols calls it the navel of the earth.
Wow.
That's
Shambhala
kind
is
of
another
Mount
one.
Sumber, Mount Sumber,
that's kind of what I want to ask you
according to
guys
Mongols.
each. Right? That's kind of what I was asking because I want to know specifically. Let's be candid, if it's possible. Can I get an idea of what you guys really think this place is? Because I know that's what kind of I want to talk about. I want to talk to find out like what you truly feel, each of you guys. Then I can kind of explain to you guys how I feel too, right? Rather than just kind of holding back. I don't want to. And you guys tell me, what do you think it is? Like,
And as multiple equidistant projection with the north in the middle, known as the land of a thousand names, just like we've been over.
Nice.
okay,
Something just like that.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and I think
man.
there could be one of just trillions of them too. I don't think it has any ending. I don't think it needs an ending. We don't, the other worlds out there could be physical, could be four-dimensional, and however dimensional, but they don't need to follow all of the physics we do. I don't give limitations to any of my thoughts when I go past what's going on in my real world. So, it turns cartoonish and crazy and wonderful and beautiful. You talk to the animals, have a relationship with the plants around you. And I practice that here in my real life. I've found a multitude of four-leaf clovers because they call me, they tell me, here I am, and I found them right in front of people in their own yard. So there's worlds going on beyond this one, and I personally I know it.
How about you, Keith? Tell me, buddy. Can you? I'd like to know your angle too.
Well, I
No,
think this is, to summarize, for me, it's an intelligently designed and closed system. Now, who or what that intelligence is, I am not going to say that I know. I grew up in a Christian home. There's so much about Christianity that is weak and so dogmatic and arrogant. I mean, although the main street where I live, there's 16 churches in a 4 mile stretch, and all of them have their own little corner of on the truth that this scripture means this and that. No, that same scripture means this, and there's two churches about a mile from each other that are just constantly bashing each other because one church believes in all kinds of charismatic stuff. This other church is more traditional and believes that every human is totally depraved and you can't be saved. And there's so much dogmatism and arrogance in religion now. And I can't talk about all religions, but I can
Fear.
talk about Christianity because I grew up in it. I spoke in a lot of churches, and some of the most closed-minded people in the world are pastors of Christian churches. So, I mean, that's my opinion. That's my experience. You bring up flat Earth to them, and most pastors are NASA fanboys. They can't even see through the hoax of the moon. So it's the blind leading the
True.
blind. Now, I don't say that about Jesus Christ or whoever Christ was or is. To me, Christ is everything, but Christianity is nothing. So I look at Christ as the creator. Now, other people in India might look at Krishna as the creator. I don't know. There's a lot of similarities about the creator or the intelligence of this intelligently designed system. But what's beyond the dome or the barrier up there? I don't know. What's below 8 miles deep? I don't know. I mean, what are the foundations of the earth? What are the four corners of the earth? We know that the earth itself, the waters are level. We know the simple things, that this is an electrical, topographical, stationary plane, but there's so much more that we don't know than what we do know. And I think through conversations like we're all having here, and I appreciate all you guys, I really look forward to this. Um, yeah, these conversations, I think, are helping all of us learn and grow and get closer to what it is we're supposed to be learning. I feel like life is meant with meaning and purpose. And I think part of this awakening or this flat earth movement, we're all fulfilling part of our purpose being here now, even tonight on this podcast.
Thanks, brother. Honestly, sorry to ask to like just take that over the conversation, Vic. I just really appreciate this forum to get to know your panelists a bit. I know that everyone in the chat is asking too. They want to know, what do you think? Like, what is this place? But that's why I was just kind of pushing us a bit in a way to say, okay, we can say this and that with platitudes, but I think it's important to share how we truly feel about, sometimes they're offensive or not offensive, but it's just extreme. What do we really feel this place is? So that's what I was getting at. Thanks, Vikka.
Oh yeah, Kevin, you want to add?
I'll be observable, repeatable, testable, and azimuthal equidistant projection with the north in the middle, being the land of 1,000 names.
Deja vu.
Deja vu of repeatable.
Awesome, bro. Mark, hey, how are you, brother?
Hey, Vikka.
Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Mark.
You're welcome.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, Gene. Hey, Keith. James. Kevin. How you guys doing?
Hanging in.
You guys, please forgive me for being late. I very much wanted to be part of this panel from the very beginning. However, we were thrown underneath YouTube jail last week for the Nephilim show. So what we did, we just recently got out of jail about an hour and a half ago, and it was a couple hours past what I thought it was, and so we had a late start getting untracked, and hopefully our listeners and our audience thought it was a decent show. I thought it was myself, but it's almost like rehearsing the first time. But it was just a statement that was suggested about the. I'm not going to say it on here because I don't want to get Vikka in trouble either. So, but thank you for having me, Vikka. We just concluded Ferret Radio Live Hoodwinked podcast on the Nephilim Giants, and I'm an hour and 15 minutes late, and I guess I'm just going to hang on to the conversation and maybe add my tidbits that when called upon.
So James was asking, what do you really feel about this earth is? If you want to give your thoughts about your real feeling about what this place is.
I believe that the problem with humanity is there's no spirituality. I think when you're not connecting your spirit to your flesh, because we all going to die one day. Every single one of these panelists here will expire one day, but you can live forever if you choose to do so by connecting your spirituality to your flesh and knowing and acknowledging your creator on a daily basis. I kind of do it on a bi-hourly basis, if that makes sense. I probably pray to Jesus 11, 12 times a day. Whether I'm happy or if I'm out of the rim of if I'm not happy, you know what I mean? And I'm getting a phone call. That was a distraction, but I'm going to do it when good things are happening. I'm going to do it when bad things are happening. Sometimes people reach out to God only when they distress or something catastrophic happens. I reach out to him all the time, but I mostly like to pray for others. And I think the way the example that's been set to, from from the man that walked this earth, that rose from the dead after 3 days, I believe his spirit resides on it. And I think the spirituality part is missing on 85-90% of the of humanity, and I think that's a major problem. When you're trying to do everything on your own and try to figure out on your own, I guarantee you guys, each one of us are going to fail.
Yep.
100%. We can be hypothetical, hypothesize anything we want. We could be theoretical, whatever. We will fail without the Spirit of God. That's my take on it. You're going to fail ultimately. I don't want temporary riches. I'd rather be poor in this world and be rich in a heavenly realm
Yep.
than be rich in the world and burn in the pits of hell. Whatever hell may be. Hell may be what we're walking on right now, because we all have our trials and tribulations. We all have good times and bad times. You know what I mean? So, but I just I just kind of I'm very thankful each morning. Looking at the beautiful sunrise, and thank him for another day. And I try to spread positive energy to anyone, and be respectful to other people. I might not agree with people are saying, or believe what they believe, but I'm going to respect people and treat them with love, because I think that's what the Lord would want me to do.
Cool, buddy.
Awesome.
Very well said. Appreciate you.
Yep. Well, basically, yeah. Just I wanted a chance to get to know you guys more, and that's the fun thing about doing these podcasts. So thanks, and thank
What
you.
what
Oh yeah.
James? I'm sure Vika's going to take a break in a minute, but we all know you've been chomping at the bit to share what you've learned or discovered. So I
Oh
think you
yeah.
just go ahead and put it out there. I mean, all of us love
Okay.
each other and we love you, and we're not going to reject you for some, whatever belief it may be. I mean, I think all of us probably want to hear what you're researching.
Yeah. Okay. Basically, it comes down to my observations, and my observations contradict what the AE circle is saying. Basically, there's a list of information that I find compelling. Let's start with the sun. Okay. Can I talk?
So
This. Yeah.
James, we're
Gonna
gonna take a break, and then you're gonna
Gotcha.
give us a resume. All right?
Let's do it.
All right, guys. We'll be back with a short break.
Good job, guys. Can anyone hear me?
All right, guys. Welcome back to the show. We have got Jeannie, we got Keith, James, Kevin, and Mark with us. I'm gonna give a quick shout out to the people in the chat. There's Dr. Frankenstein. There's Stephanie Campbell. There's Jay Daddy. Every other. Lisa Marie Nicholas. We got cover to cover with Jeremy Pierce. Got the Glory of Yah creation. Jess Palmer. And we got some people from Facebook. And there's also Jeannie there in the chat. There's Lisa Marie Nicholas. Virginia Dare. Chester Deluxe. Mintaka Zoo Scotty. Yep, and there are more people. And if you're first time here, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon, guys. And yeah, what an awesome topic we have today also. And yep, go ahead, James.
Thanks, Vikka. Cool, man. Okay. Well, yeah, basically 2 months ago, I'd say 3 months ago, I became aware that there are certain issues with the AE circle. And to fix that curiosity, I was intrigued to find out we have always led to be believing that the sun is circling, oscillating between the Tropic of Capricorn and the Tropic of Cancer throughout the year. And somehow we've accepted the fact that this would mean a dramatic increase in speed, right? If we do some math, I've found information to say that we probably see a difference of 850 miles an hour. And I don't quite buy into that. I think that, we would notice 850-mile-an-hour difference spinning at, or the sun spinning at supposedly in a circle at over 3,000 miles an hour in the south, the Tropic of Capricorn, versus 1950 something in the Tropic of Cancer, a difference of 850. We have just glossed over the fact that this is acceptable. That's one. I'm curious you guys' thoughts on that first off.
I look at it
It's
like the second,
probably
like
the height.
the second on the clock. I mean, the second hand on the clock, closer to the center of the clock, it still moves 1 second. The second hand at the tip of the second hand still moves 1 second. So I understand it covers more ground when it's out towards the Tropic of Capricorn, but I think it works on a different time or different energy. Yeah, I think you're right, James. If it was, 850 miles an hour different, we would see something, that we're not observing. But I don't know that we understand the mysteries of the sun at all.
Okay, that's great. I absolutely respect that, and I'm curious, you guys, what do you think? Keith and Kev, do you think that is like really possible? This we're just not observing this 850-mile-an-hour difference. To me, that's a major issue, big time, right? Do you agree or no?
You'd have to see it. I think it has something to do with the height of it.
Okay. Am
When
I
it's
missing
colder, it's
anything else
higher.
though? What else would
Um,
contribute to that? Because I'm sure, guys, I don't think it's true. I think they've been feeding us a load of crap, and it's a square. And that's why, because it moves left to right at the same speed. However, we would notice this difference, and we don't notice the difference in speed. So that's first off, that's my first point. Okay. And so that's a little questionable.
Well,
Let me
what are
know
you
if you'd like
gonna
to
do?
go on.
What are you going to do with the analemma? I mean, the what we actually observe with the path of the sun, which seems to be over the Tropic of Capricorn, being much larger on the bottom of the analemma than on the top of it.
Which
Well,
would go just straight across if we were on a Pac-Man theory.
Right.
Well, the way I look at it is that I think the analemma may be a load of crap. The reason why is because the seasons don't change in either side of the equinox at the same variation. So that would
Are you
indicate to me.
kidding me? Are you kidding me, dude? I went to South America, Santiago, Chile, dressed like it was summer, and I went over there and it was cold.
See, I'm trying not to trigger you though, Kev. We got to keep the voice at an indoor voice.
don't say water.
Don't say water earth in front of me. I'll pop off. Thank you.
Okay, see, this is the thing, right? Like, I'm going to present information which is going to trigger people, but not saying you're triggered, but it's like it develops some passion.
But James, in the Enoch model, they speak about the sun going below the dome, or some that the sun is disappearing for a while. Also, they speak about, right?
This is true, right? And the
For
information
3
that they've
days.
No, but
they've
but we see the sun 24 hours a day. We can follow the sun almost every country in the world. There's a day all the time. That's just
well,
one point. Maybe I'm wrong.
well, talking about the sun, right? Specifically, the line of equity at the equinox, which is approximately March 21st and September 21st. You and of what my sources, like I asked my friend Zach in Jakarta, does the sun go directly east to directly overhead to directly west in a set? And that would indicate a perfect straight line. And at no point on this model we've been fed, which is the spinning pizza, that there is any straight line anywhere. It's always a curve. So therefore, that's another major issue. And the sun, again, is my example. Curious as to your thoughts on that one.
Well, we've brought this
Because
up before. Go ahead, Vikka.
go ahead, Keith. No, go ahead, Keith.
Well, we've brought it up before, the observation of the JFK to Moscow flight. I mean, you can absolutely see the sun going into circuit and staying in view. So they can't be straight.
Hey guys, I can give my take on it a little bit. I mean, because James, you suggested that it's a load of crap, but you got to remember that's just a small capsule of the big barn of bullshit that they fed us. You know what I mean? I mean, show us. For that matter, you look at a difference of 850 miles an hour from the two tropics. I mean, for that matter, let's go bigger on that. You know, show me any experimental proof of any scientific evidence that the so-called globe Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, right? Wobbling and tilted 23.5 degrees on a vertical axis while orbiting the sun at a blinding 67,000 miles an hour in concert with the entire solar system, spiraling 500,000 miles an hour around the Milky Way and careening across and expanding. Not something that's definitive, something that's infinite. That's careening across the expanding universe away from the Big Bang at an incredible 670 million miles an hour. So what you're suggesting, I fully understand and respect that. But think of the bigger picture of a born house full of bullshit. You're just talking about a load of shit. I'm talking about the whole barn. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's a lot of things that's unexplainable. I get that. And you and Kevin would be more versed on the how the fast the sun or how it's not moving as fast in the Tropic of Capricorn and the Tropic of Cancer. So you guys would be more versed on that than me. But I'm looking at the bigger picture, not just when you paint a canvas, you paint the whole canvas, not just part of it. That's my take on it.
Very well
And
said.
James, the how you say, the time zones also could help to shed some light on it, because if we really see the 30 degree an hour, if you calculate that the sun moves, right, the time zones are always same. The 2 hour difference they make is to confuse the people, but in maybe it's the perspective, or the people think that there is a change of speed of the sun, but the sun is moving at what looks like at a constant speed, and that's why the hour zone, the hour how you say, the time, it's mostly the same all around the year, so maybe what they're saying, that the earth moves, the earth moves at 1,000 miles per hour or something. Actually, it's the sun that is moving. That's why we have the 30 degree an hour rotation, how you say, of the whole circle, which makes the 24 hours.
Well, that's true. I'm glad you have researched this too, Vikka, because everyone has their take on, but, right? Like, because when I started to research that it could be straight lines only, that produced an inner question about, what do I trust more, though, my senses or what they're telling me again? So really what it comes down to is there's more. Guys, we've been convinced that there is an ice wall, and no one has verified this. And that's true, right? And maybe I'm curious, but what else do you think about the fact that we're also, right here, I wanted to say, right? Because I'm looking in my notes, and it's basically saying there's so many things that I can say about the moon appearing in the daytime and at the nighttime. Sure, we can go either way on it. It could be this. But to actually say that, well, maybe the Enoch is the secret that they're trying to preserve. And the only way to do this is by presenting explanations for everything, when in actuality, we'll really have to make that shift to say, yeah, you know what? It could be the Enoch because of this, this, and this. Right? Sometimes I won't have all the proofs, but if we can say to me, you've shown me things that really present a problem with the AE model, such as givens that have never been verified. That's enough for me to say there's something there. Do you see why I'm intrigued about this possibility?
Sure.
Yeah. I'm curious
There's
what
always
you think.
holes in their story.
Well, can I ask you guys another thing? It's always going to come down to flight paths, of course, right? Do you agree that the airline industry is very, deceitful and nefarious? So therefore, right, wouldn't it be possible that they are in on some kind of manipulation of technology and aid distances and speeds? For sure, I'd say that's
Would
enough
it
to
be
me to.
possible?
Yeah, absolutely, right. So
I don't
if
think
they
there's a
could,
chance they're not.
my question about flight paths is ultimately, do you think that ultimately you can say, yeah, because a plane does this and that on a map, that's enough for you to say, no, it is a round, flat circle? For me, that's not enough, right?
Well,
Do you really?
go ahead and ask
No,
you
but
this, James.
James, for example, I've flown a lot in my life, a lot from a young age, and I study the geography of the earth. Okay, and you're really following those maps or the routes, so mostly if it's flying in a straight line, you are going in that straight line more or less because you are observing the geography below, you know
Absolutely.
Somebody had a good video of 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 the sun, like a time lapse of the sun, and it shows it hooking. It might have been, I forget who, a
Right.
long
So
time ago.
you've seen that video too, the one where, yeah, it appears like it's a curve when actually if you put it on a square, it's a flat straight. I know exactly what you're
Well,
talking about. Yeah, agreed.
right, but all right. So if it was this, if it is a square and it is going straight, what do you think about that video?
Well, to me, it just summarized the fact that we can't trust the airline industry as the defining reason why it couldn't be a square. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like
Right.
we have to consider all possibilities that everything has been manipulated, including the airline paths and routes and
Oh, sure.
speeds.
Even the mileage, I question. Like, how do we really know that my car is driving 5,280 feet every mile, kind of thing?
So
I
then,
don't trust
therefore,
anything they're giving me. It's all electronic now. They'll shut my car off right now if they told me talking about them like this.
but
Right?
you see what I'm saying about they've parlayed the available information into the flat circle. Well, of course they have, right? Because
But
that's the way it
they're
works
gonna
on a
dilute.
globe.
Yeah, they're gonna
It's
muddy the waters as much as they can to dilute the truth.
right
So maybe
because it
if they give us 25 different things and there's 4% truth in everything, we got to dig out 96% garbage to find it in 25 different, right? You know what I mean? But
can
it's
I ask?
there.
Okay, I wanted to ask you guys another question. Interesting on the Enoch Square. The Aurora Australis, briefly, is a localized phenomenon when viewed for some such places as Australia and New Zealand. And the AE circle, to me, that's another massive problem because the perimeter wall would have to be lit up in its entirety, and they're in that circle model. Do you know about this question? I think, Kev, you might be able to answer that, or someone else.
Not familiar, to tell you the truth.
Yeah,
What
because
did
the plane is so huge that imagine we people in the area we are living, in the zone we are living, and we are trying to create a circle around it and calling it the center in a way. You could draw a center in any part of the plane and call it your center. So it could just continue. It's much more vast and endless than we could imagine to call it a square or a circle. You know, I think even in our mind, we cannot even imagine how big it could be. Also, why not? For
Right.
us to think that we are in a circle somewhere very near, and this is the whole circle, this is the whole universe, right here in few thousand kilometers.
I
Just
agree with that. This is just like a tiny bubble in a huge, enormous pool. And the things
You
that
know,
are
because,
out there, we couldn't even imagine what the possibilities of what we call
exactly,
life
because
and
some texts
existence.
also speak about that there are various suns, and then there's one sun for us, which for us is going around, because it's that reflecting, in a way it's reflecting for our known world, or our known realm, the meaning one, and we have our personalized sun that's doing its job of rotating around, so, or in a line, whatever you want to call it. So there are things we couldn't really know what could exist, in a way of different civilizations could exist, and they could have their own center. Who knows, and maybe this center
Sure.
is a technology. Who knows?
That too. Psychic abilities,
It's really, it's
nonverbal communication. Sure, absolutely. Dreamlike state, walking around with no, where you don't really touch things, but they're there. Why not? We're here.
do you guys find it fascinating that they've removed the Book of Enoch from uh, religious Bibles?
No, not just the Book of Enoch, dude. There's been lots of books removed.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. So isn't
But
that
it's
intriguing
probably
enough to say this might be
no,
onto something here?
it's not to me. And if you're going to talk, is if Enoch's going to be your main concern that the AE is not correct, then you start opening yourself up to all that religious dogma of interpretation of exactly what Enoch meant in this chapter and this verse, and I think you're getting away from the observable reality. I don't see how the sun could be traveling in a straight line when we actually observe the analemma every year. I don't see how the sun is traveling in a straight line when you can get on a plane and watch it on a flight go into circuit anytime. So I don't think the interpretation that you might be gathering out of Enoch is something that we actually observe.
I'm gonna
Well,
add to
Exactly.
that.
And there's only yeah, go ahead, Mark.
It's not just Enoch. You guys got to remember that as much as demons have been demons today, there were demons yesterday. There were demons 3,500, 4,000 years ago. They don't change their stripes. It's the same stripe. It's the same demon. So if you want to know why Enoch and 17 other books were taken out of the biblical text, it's obviously they've corrupted man, but they've also corrupted the Bible. You follow me? So, but they don't want you to know the truth. Things like UFOs and things that Enoch actually eloquently described. What he told everybody what UFOs were 3,000 years ago. They were demon entities. Demons at that point in time did not want to show their face. They just wanted to deceive mankind. Nowadays, they don't care. They
They're
show
all over
truth
the
and
place.
plain. They all over the place. They might be your next door neighbor. I'm sorry, Vikka, for interrupting. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. And okay, so if you're adding to what James was saying, this James, okay, there's a Enoch model. That's a one model, and then you have all this another model that we were speaking about. These all ancient cosmologies, with their constructions and with their books and with their traditions, and on the way they express their cosmologies. And there are many, and they're very, very similar, other than Enoch. So that also in a way could be, saying that which is more possibility of being the truth. Who knows? Maybe it is, maybe it's not, but that in itself says too. And
Yep.
to the precise names of explaining this magnetic mountain. And the best part is, this is what they're trying to hide, because if you really see in all the maps and everything, in the new maps and all, they are trying to hide is this magnetic north. Why they're trying to hide this magnetic north, and why all these cultures are speaking about this magnetic north in their own language, in their own names, but it's the same thing with those rivers and coming from the four sides. It's coming from the center to the four sides.
Well, it's interesting. That's because basically the Enoch says it's a light which is projected into the dome, and there's two suns and two moons. And that's so far out there that it's like, man, it could explain some things about why we see the moon in the blue and the black, right? It could explain.
I
I
have
mean,
I have something to tell you guys about 9 months back. We came across a video. I think Vika, you might have seen it yourself. An upper level Freemason was actually explaining how the Earth is the dynamics of the Earth. You know, as far as the
The black
under
sun.
the Polaris, the black right, they got a black hole at the north, the magnetic north. And of course, that from a navigation standpoint, you can't fly over the North Pole anyway, the North Magnetic Center, because of the electromagnetism at that point is so much greater. Your navigation, would go crazy. It would be hard to fly. But I think that might be a hole in the center that projects underneath where Shaw would be, and Keith Cameron Smith might even agree with this. Whereas this is upper level Freemason telling you that it projects. You got the black sun in the black moon that actually shines. It is everything's electromagnetic. It's like a big old battery, But the holes in the middle, and it projects the black sun in the moon, that creates eclipses from the North Magnetic Center of the. So maybe that's part of the secrets, but this is a secret society explaining to you where the what creates the it might be a mirage to us on the planes of the world, but it's actually real. It's projected in the sky for everybody to view. And this was actually on Ferret Radio about a year ago. So if you guys want to go to Ferret, you can check it out yourself.
Oh
It's like
yeah,
a 9-minute video.
Yeah, I've seen that
yeah.
video
It's
that
a
you're talking.
It's a presentation. Yeah.
The guy doesn't say anything, right?
No, he doesn't
No, he
say
does
anything.
not.
He's just
Yeah.
drawing on a board.
Just
Yep.
yeah.
That's a good one.
And the other thing I wanted to add also, James, is that the navigation from the ancient times is done to the magnetic center north with the Polaris and all the constellation. No matter from which part of the plane you are looking at this constellation, you can get your way around. And that in itself also way shows that circular plane that the whole seas and the oceans, and how these people are trying to navigate through the oceans through this constellation, and the sun and the moon and the bearings they do for the ships. And so another point maybe there.
And also don't forget that that all around the world, all over the place, they have planetariums. The best prediction of what we live in is a half a circle room, a half a basketball room, right? Hemisphere.
well, like I
If
say,
the sun
guys,
was traveling, if the sun was traveling straight, wouldn't that mean that the Big Dipper and the other constellations would also be traveling straight? Because the star trails obviously show they go in a perfect circle around Polaris. It seems like the sun, and again, I hate to sound like a broken record, but that analemma that we can do every single year, I don't see any way possible that an interpretation from Enoch would be legitimate as a sun only moving straight.
well, of course, guys,
Exactly. That also brings another point
Go ahead, Ken.
that is the guides of the stars. You being an astrologer, I'm sure you're aware of. I have one on my wall right now. They actually guide of the stars from an azimuthal equidistant projection with the North Star in the middle.
okay, well,
Which is how you view stars from an astronomical level.
Exactly.
Right.
And the square Earth needs to have, should it have a square dome, a flat dome?
well, here's the
No, it's just a
Brother.
question. No, it's
Here's
just
the
a question.
Yeah.
Because and the structure, the square structure is not that strong as an arc. I'm not saying that it's a small arc. Even if it is an arc, it has to be a huge arc to hold if there are oceans above and below, right? So just a thought. Go ahead, James.
I got a question. What's the time span between the earliest ancient cosmology renditions between the least recent? How long have they been
The
spanning
recorded
this?
are speaking about
Yeah.
maybe 15,000,
Right.
but it could
So-
go to more than 50,000.
Okay, so it's all recorded history then.
I respect
No,
it. I
the
disagree with
more or less, you
Okay.
know, the more or less,
Yeah.
I they stretch, you know, of, oh, this could have happened 10,000 years ago, 15,000 years ago, is what they say,
Right.
but could be much more, much more.
we do know one thing, that the fallen ones, the watchers, the ones that fell out of grace, that perverted the rim of that we call Earth, was before any of these ancient cultures. Okay, and all the ancient as well as the newer cultures do know about the Great Flood. Every single culture on Earth understands, recognizes the fact that God flooded the Earth. And by the way, as far as the sun, how fast it moves, in the both tropics, obviously in ancient times they always had what, sundials, right? They're not called earth dials because the sun moves, not the earth. So, and I just don't understand why the masses can't understand something so simple, just
Right.
connecting common sense to other common sense. So, but
And Mark, you're right. And the simplicities are just all over the place as well, though. It's not just one
exactly.
simple thing. There's so many of them that you can point out, and it's just like, nope, they don't hear it.
I
One of the
personally think that
one
the
of the
key.
things,
Go ahead, Kevin.
an astrolabe has how many years of
45, like
facts?
4,500 or something like that.
4,500, which depicts
So
the
I
North
think
Star
so.
being in the middle, which is something
Yeah.
that we can still use to this day with precision,
Yeah.
which is made out of a circle.
Yeah, and the lodestone, the magnetic north center is supposed to
Yes.
be made of lodestone, and the first compass that they made was with a lodestone in the shape of a spoon on a
That's
piece of
right.
metal, and it
On a
was
piece of metal,
directing to the north.
right?
So would you
That's
agree
how
though that
the compass was invented. Yep.
can
Very cool.
Kev, you mentioned the stars going in the south? Wouldn't that indicate that they would all have to follow suit of going clockwise, since there's only one direction?
Just like I've explained before multiple times, it is the point of perspective of where you're at. And if you take a time lapse star trajectory of you being at the equator, you will see both stars going in different directions. So it's like you taking a broom, having brushes at the both ends, and you twisting it forward. You looking at the right hand side, representing it being the north. It's going to go counterclockwise, and then you look left, and it's going clockwise. But if you look in the middle and you pull out the broom in front of you, still twisting forwards, both brushes are going forwards, just like the trajectory of the equator.
Okay, so would you agree that the sun moves east to west? Absolutely, right? How would you explain this then? People in Australia and New Zealand see the sun rise on if they're facing north, they see the sun rise from 3 o'clock and it goes to 12 o'clock to 9 o'clock. That would indicate a counterclockwise motion, would it not? How would you explain that? It contradicts the AE circle of everything moving clockwise. If you look at the app, right? It's
Have you
going clockwise.
excuse me, have you ever been to Australia? Have you ever done that observation? Do you know that firsthand?
Well, would I say that would
That
firsthand
observation.
include people that you absolutely trust? If it does, yes, in fact, the sun does that because I trust this person word with I respect this person enough to say, I asked, do you see the sun going three?
James,
That contradicts your hypothesis.
Okay, so listen, if I showed you it happening, I'm not saying I'm right, Kev, but what I'm asking is, do you truly feel that you can stand by that to say the AE model is flawless? And I can say there's enough there for me to say it doesn't add up, right? And you can explain it away with, oh, this and this and that. But the fact is, it's going 3 o'clock to 12 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and that contradicts the AE
No, I don't
circle.
know how you
but
can
James,
say that's a
Keith,
fact.
go ahead.
I don't know how James can say that's a fact when you're saying earlier, I don't trust anybody unless I see it myself. So you're contradicting
Bang.
yourself there a little bit. So, and
Okay.
I have never seen observation, and I've seen probably thousands of hours of the sky and the movements in the sky. So if you have an actual observation of a time lapse of the sun showing that, then show it to us. I would love to see it. I've seen lots of time lapse of the sun, but it's always turning to the right.
And I wouldn't it
And
be like
another thing, James. The other thing is, James, the light, the stars, the luminaries, the sun, the moon, the movement, the speed, the direction, the retrograde. It's all depending on the perspective. Okay, the terrain says what is the shape of the earth. Okay, the water says what is the shape of the earth. The magnetic north keeps us, as we spoke about, from animal to us to everything, to have that central part of it to keep everything us in focus at the north. Okay, these things more than in a way shows what could be the real shape of the earth, because whatever is moving up is up. Okay, it's up. We are speaking about the ground and what's everything is moving around. That is supposed to be the north center, which speaks about most of the cosmologies where it speaks about, and what we are seeing, what we are perceiving, again the globe earth model, again the maybe another kind of model or concave or maybe the square, or so just through the luminary and sun, it's quite difficult to accept it, because this phenomena could be happening much more higher and we are perceiving it so much closer to us, and it just could be look to us like a kaleidoscope or whatever, the movements and everything, and we could say if this is moving in a straight line or in a curved line.
I agree, Vikka, that it, is, of course it's malleable too. It could be this and that. But really what it comes down to is they're painting a picture for us to accept this AE circle. And that's where I say, no, man, they're forcing this information on
But
us.
who is painting, James? Who is? Because we all,
okay, well, what I mean,
this presentation of the Mercator map is just a way to show our flat earth model. Okay,
true.
It's not correct. We know it's not correct. Okay, because there's a lot of this distortion right from the north. When we start expanding towards the south, the whole continents are distorted hell out of it. Okay, we know it's not a perfect map, and we are trying to put a circle around it. Okay, and trying to say that this is the circle.
Exactly.
It's but
So in other words, the whole Pac-Man theory is complete psyop. I actually fall victim of popular public opinion when it came to that a long time ago in 2019. And I thought the Pac-Man theory was legit. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't understand the southern hemisphere constellations. I didn't understand the airplane flights at the time, everything like that. But after I learned it, I completely denounced it right away, knowing it was PSYOP, controlled opposition from the CIA to segregate the flat earth movement, which is basically what it's trying to do. And however many people you've learned it from can completely be denounced. Put them on a podcast with us, you know what I mean? It'll be fun. But the psyop of the square model Pac-Man theory is just, it's not logical. It's not observable, repeatable, testable. The analemma, the airplane flights going from south to north, back to south, and there's no flights that stay in the south except the one from South America to Argentina. Thank you so much. Other than that, there's no flights that go from north to south and then back up to north. So how would that make sense on a Pac-Man theory?
Well, if we go
and
back
a square model is no different. A square model is no different than the globe earth model. Just because it's on a square and another is on a ball, more or less, because they say the same thing. Because the way they represent their maps on a flat square map is like the sun goes from the right and comes from the left, and for them it's the whole circle on a globe,
Well,
and the way
to
they
me,
project it on a flat map is from the left to the right.
well, yeah,
there would be a lot more videos too, wouldn't there? I never
sure,
heard
of course,
that.
because it's, well, the thing is, guys, I agree. Yeah, of course, I'm going to be, no, this guy gets a lot of blowback for bringing this up. Of course, Man, because that's, you can explain it, Kev, absolutely, and automatically denouncing it with Pac-Man theory. It kind of like, okay, your pizza theory, right? It's that challenge to say, it's almost mocking, and that's the point where, okay, at what point do you say that they're
No,
really
no,
trying to hide
no.
that
It's not
secret?
mocking. It's not mocking, James. We are six people here. Okay, we are only six, but we all are giving our opinions. Nobody's mocking. No one. Maybe it's the
Right,
tone. Maybe not. Right. But you have to see that there are 4 or 5 people more who are giving their opinions why it cannot be a square model. So you also have to,
exactly.
in a way, try to see what we are trying to say, because you are there with your model and we are trying with our model. Okay, and
Mhm.
most of the majority of flat earthers, we believe in a magnetic center. We believe in the plane, which could be a circle at its highest level further away, not here. We're not speaking the ice wall right around us and everything is going around it, as I explained before. The building a circle around us is not going to make it like, that's the world and that's everything. So it's just a representation, but we believe, we see, we perceive it through the magnetic center, and that's why it has so much of importance in most of the culture, because there is truth to that. Maybe it's not 100% truth in the variations, but there is some truth to that magnetic tree of life, or the toroidal field, or the aurora borealis, or where it comes from, or the whole structure of the donut, we call it, with the plane in the middle, so
Toroidal
makes
field.
more. Yeah.
Getting back to the just the main title of the show tonight of the ancient cosmologies, I think every one that I've ever seen shows the circle. I've never seen an ancient cosmology showing a square. So I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me from anything that I've researched for 5 years that it
Fact.
could possibly be a square. Just because the Book of Enoch seems to say something like that, all of the ancient cosmologies show it as a circle.
Well, precisely, right? That's why I go immediately to what do my observations tell me. And I agree with you. Yeah, of course. But wouldn't it come down to, if you can see some flaws, that's enough for
It
you to say,
sounds like,
man,
yeah,
there's,
that
of course,
absolutely,
that's how we came to flat
absolutely.
Earth, right? And of
Yep.
course, they're shoveling this information to the forefront. They're allowing this information to be promoted. Have you noticed? Of course. They want people researching the flat Earth. That's how they control the next PSYOP, which I feel is the AE circle. And that's not denouncing my beliefs over your beliefs. It's just to say that there's enough there in my observations, perhaps not right now, but to say that there's flaws enough to the point where, hey, they're not going to trick me again into the next indoctrination, okay? And that's the way I feel, that beware. We've all fed this information, and not me, man. I don't think
I
it's
tell you
either.
what, if another theory came that made more sense, I'd look into it. I look into them all still.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
God, I hate that word theory.
definitely.
Gene,
Theory,
please
yeah,
stop
right.
using that word theory.
Sorry, you're right.
I'll,
And
Oh my
the other thing
goodness
is, the
gracious.
other thing is, James, the Enoch, the book of Enoch was supposed to be a part of the Bible. Okay, so it could be just a variation, how they have the variation in Christianity about the way the world is, and we have to respect everybody. But for us, if there were enough evidence, of physical evidence, of seeing things or perceiving, or the land, that it's a square, maybe we would have thought that maybe it's square. But yeah, we are
I'm
sharing what you think it is, and we are sharing what we think it is. And
Well, I mean, I'm gonna add to that. I don't really think Enoch specifically says it was a square. I think he says that the four archangels, and Kevin, you might be able to help me with this. The four archangels were on all four corners of the world.
That's not
The-
just Enoch as well, though. But yes, go ahead.
and that's essentially four corners of the world. So that could mean that could still mean a circle. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that it's square.
There is
Correct.
authentically four corners of Earth. It says that in Scripture multiple times. But there's
Exactly.
right.
also a circle inside of a square.
but now you're allowing your religion to dictate your observations, right? And that's the
I
whole
hate
thing.
religion, to be honest
That
with you. I
it's
don't
it's
subscribe to any
sometimes
religion.
right. It
No, no, it's
skews
not
our
religion, James.
right.
It's just
Well, that's
it's
what he
just
said, though.
the
He said
no,
Scripture
just
says, and if he's saying Scripture
yeah,
says, then he's
but
bypassing
even
his logic.
even the Enochs are scriptures, James.
You got to pay
True,
attention to
but
these guys because there are truths in what they say, though. So you gotta get rid of the
Absolutely.
false
right.
and
So
Even
dig out
does
the truth. So yeah, you got to watch what they're saying. Yeah,
here's the
unfortunately.
thing, right? I don't look at Enoch from a religious point of view. I look at from a cosmological point of view,
which is
and that's
scripture.
But it's scripture, though. You know, both, right?
okay. Our observations will dictate that, won't they? Okay, I endeavor to film the sun in the south going from 3 to 12 to 9, and you can explain it away any way you want, but it contradicts the AE
No,
circle.
I can explain that
But
right now, James.
but
I can explain the observation of that in
Of
just
course, you
common
can
sense.
explain it. Of
Yeah, no,
course, you
but
can
go
explain it, though.
from 3 to 12 to 9. I mean, the path or the circuit of the sun in Australia is huge compared to the circuit of the sun in New York City.
That's
So
what
it
they
can,
tell you, though,
yeah,
right?
no,
Do you
that
see?
well, as of now, you're saying if you can get this observation, all of us,
Exactly.
the other, I mean, I'm not, and we're not ganging up on you in no way, shape, or form. I think all of us love you absolutely and are glad you're here. But
yeah,
all of
sure.
us are saying we've never seen that observation in all the years that all of us have done research. We've never seen an observation of the sun coming from the east and turning to the left.
I never even heard of it
Me
personally.
neither.
There. Okay. Okay. Cool. I get it. I know, guys. I know it feels like 5-on-1 here, right?
Have you thought,
But
bro?
but
Let
can
me
I
ask you something,
just
James.
can
Oh, not at all.
You're
I hope you don't.
no, it's no. It's not about 5-on-1, James, because you are coming up with your research,
yeah,
okay? Also,
but
which
not
also is a way based on the text, and we are also defending the cosmologies which we think it's more real, which resonates with us,
that's
okay?
true. Of course, and that ultimately comes
And
down to yep.
and
James. How many?
there are many other cosmologies. They say as a navel of the earth. What is the meaning of navel?
The
And we
middle.
are the representation of tree of life, the representation of flower of life, the representation of seed of life. All movement of the luminaries are all based on the circle with the center. Okay, these things you are ignoring too, you know.
Could be. Yeah, I mean, you're right. There's areas which I can't explain. Of course not. That's enough for me to just say, okay, yeah. At what point do I have to say that's fine? You guys can continue to believe what you want. It's cool. For me, though, there was enough there to say, hey, you know what? I'm not buying into this quite yet, right? I like to kind
James,
of remain. I like to
how many
kind of
different sources have you seen this type of video from?
well, it's interesting. I found an amazing source of information. It's in Western Australia. I'm going to mention his
Okay.
Enoch One Facebook group. Sammy Kelly does an amazing job at explaining this. Holy smokes, man! You guys, he understands that everything,
So from one
is
guy.
not
And
absolutely,
this is where
absolutely.
this is
Okay,
where you
so
got your video from, right?
there's others, guys. It's not just Sammy. There's intelligent people speaking up about this on Facebook, and
Right.
if you want their names, I don't feel comfortable giving them, but we can explain things. Now, I'm gonna say we, okay? Enoch can explain things just as easily, and
Which is
it's important to
scripture.
remain open. It's
The
no, it's from a cosmological point of view, Kev, not
reason
religious.
why I ask is
We're,
because I was just wondering if it could possibly be in reverse.
well, hey, there's enough there. Again, guys, it really comes down to it. There was enough intrigue there for me to say they're corralling the awakening enough so to that they're presenting us with a model that is an AE circle. And I'm not buying into it. Okay, so that's why I kind of like being sovereign and my own wolf and remaining open minded to other possibilities because no matter what, I feel like there's enough there, guys, for me. And that's really what it comes down to. If anyone's intrigued about it, get a hold of me. I can send you the Enoch 1 PDF file. The Richard, I don't have it on me right now, but I'm on a walk in the backfield. It's very intriguing. In the very least, I think it's something to think about. And that's why I appreciate the forum to discuss it with you guys tonight. That's all I really want to say. I know I get a lot of blowback about it, but at least I'm kind of pushing the conversation in a way to say, uh, there's something to be learned from this, don't you think? Pushing the conversation in a way where we all have to
James,
think a bit more.
I think at least the people here on the panel and some people I know also in the chat, are from a very long time into flat Earth. Okay, and I think for me and for many people, that we don't resonate with the square model. Okay, so because we ourselves, we dig in very deep to decode the flat Earth model itself, and the time we have been behind flat Earth model and all the aspects we have looked into of flat Earth. For us, it's a plane, maybe a circular plane, but it's quite difficult for us to think that it could be a square model and the sun is moving in a straight line.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I know, Vikka, and I know it's not like going to be well receptive when I'm open minded to both. It could be, right? I'm very
That's
intrigued by this.
receptive.
By
We're
I
hearing
don't.
you out, brother.
To
I
me,
don't
that's
think any of us
fascinating.
have. Well, I think the problem, James, is that none have seen any observation of that at all. I mean,
Yeah,
the one guy,
Yeah,
Enoch
true.
One, whoever he is. No, I'm just talking about us on the panel right now. We've never seen an
Yeah.
observation of the sun doing what you're saying. We've always seen an
I'm dying to
observation
see this video.
going into the
But
circuit.
we are
Me
we
too.
are going we are going. Wouldn't you say we're going against our logic when we say if we are standing at the equator and the sun would go directly overhead in a straight line, that immediately contradicts the circle model, because
You would have.
at no point is there
No,
any straight line
you,
on a circle.
yeah.
Right?
If you look
We're,
straight, if
we're
you look at the lines of a basketball the right way, it looks like a straight line. It can curve right in front of your face. It can
exactly.
go.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's the perspective, because it could look.
Perspective. Yes.
It,
Sure, it can.
Well, that temple in India is very fascinating because the sun moves in a straight line above your head directly. And as I say, there is no straight line on a circle. And we can explain it away with this and that and this and that.
yeah,
But
but
what we
James,
observe,
in that temple, we see the sun going down in a straight line through the building, but that looks like a straight line to us, but it could be going, making
but then,
that curve, because
but then,
if you look right below an object that is doing a curve, it will look to you like a straight line.
Right.
Imagine a ball above your head and try moving it all the way in front of you, up till down, in a curve pattern. It's gonna see like a straight line.
right. And
Exactly.
at what point on a flat circle do you see a straight line? Do you see my
Hey,
Yeah,
point?
James,
but
also think
They
about
want
the
no no
glare of the sun.
hey,
The,
they
the
want us
glare
to
of the
buy
sun.
in. They want us to buy into the flat circle. Now you guys just finished telling me that you will see a straight line on a circle on a ball,
No,
but we're
James,
not
we
talking about a ball. We're
appear to
talking
see
about
a
hey,
line.
we're talking about a flat pizza. And at no point do we see a straight line on the circular model. That's my point, guys. You know, that's my point. It's as simple as that.
Well, if you're talking about
But
So
then
then
flat,
how
how
do
do you
you,
get? So then how
But
do you
look how
get the
many other
square out of
points.
that though?
But look how many
Jay,
other points we have.
Wow.
exactly, Kev. There are a lot of points that you have.
well,
I'm not
James,
denying. I'm not
let me
denying
ask you a
that.
question, James. Who is saying that who wants us to think that we're on a pizza? Because to be honest with you,
The elites,
we're
man.
being mocked and ridiculed. I don't know when you suggest who wants us to think that we're
Well,
on a flat pizza. I mean,
well,
that's what I would like to know.
me too, bud. And this is what it comes down to: the elites who are playing this game with us, who are constantly in control, presenting the globe versus the pizza, and they swing us between the two, and that's it. They never want us to get to the truth,
yeah, I don't
ever,
buy
because
into it, James. I don't buy into it at all. If you go back to Gleason's map in 1892, do you know the
mate,
title of do you know the title of the book that Gleason wrote?
As it is.
it's a masonry. Do you ever see
The
the masonry on the Gleason map? Have you seen that?
Do you know the title of the book that Gleason wrote?
I don't know.
Okay, just look that up. I mean, Gleason is
I,
not
What
one
is
of
it?
they. There's not one of they trying to get us to buy into the pizza. Gleason was
right.
somebody who, said, "Is the Bible from God? Is the Earth a globe?" That's the title of the book. So it's not they trying to get us to buy into the pizza. The pizza and the sun moving in a circle around the center is what we all have observed hundreds of times from observations that in all of our research.
In
I
all
don't.
points of the world as well. It was
I,
Absolutely.
scientifically observed.
It's
Yeah.
absolutely. I can't deny that they've painted the answers in a way which adds up. I get it, guys. I get it. There, but being honest again, there are major flaws that I have, enough so that I would doubt the model presented. Now,
No, but here's
who
what it
who
sounds. Here's what it
who?
sounds like. It sounds like you heard somebody say there's this observation, but you haven't made the observation yourself, and none of us have made that observation.
We
This
haven't
is
even
true.
heard it. That's what's coming.
Right.
Absolutely. Sure.
Fact.
Right.
Absolutely.
Good
Yeah,
point,
so
If
Keith.
yeah,
this,
you need to
if
dig.
this
Yeah, so you need to dig in deep, James. You need to dig in, make your own
If
observation, and then come up with because
if
what's
Uh,
happening is like it's getting contradiction because it's much more contradiction than similar views. You know what I mean with the model, and that would create much more different contradiction every aspect because if we have to disagree on everything, then we have to disagree that the
yeah.
polarity is not in the center, the way
Yeah.
everything is
And
happening
that's
is not. So we have to disagree on everything.
And
exactly.
from a
And
respectful point of view, I would think that Gleason has more credentials and someone that's probably more attuned to reality than the gentleman that you're talking about, Sam Kelly. You follow me? I would rather take the observations of what he has written as
mhm,
opposed to someone that's just got a YouTube channel. And
yeah.
again, I would love to see that video that you have, if you wouldn't mind
have you
sending the
read?
link to everybody.
Have
You
you
know?
read the
Yeah,
corner,
and
the bottom corners of the Gleason map, James?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry, Keith.
I was just asking James if he's read the bottom corners of the Gleason's map.
Well, I do know there's a 33, and the part with the 33, there's a stamp. I know that that Gleason map is loaded with Freemason symbolry, right? And what does that tell us? That's the model that the Masons are presenting to us, the flat circle, right? And that's the code for deception.
No,
And
that's
that's
not.
why I
No,
don't
bro.
buy into it.
No, bro. That's not
That's very subjective. I'm 33 years old
exactly.
right now.
Absolutely.
I'm
Absolutely.
33 years old right now.
yeah,
Am I a Mason?
I
Well,
wish I
hey,
was. I
and
wish I was 33.
okay. So, do, so,
No,
so
yeah,
do you
Masons,
guys,
I don't even
Masons,
remember
and
that.
Masons
James,
are
James,
do you guys,
there is nothing uh, because if the controllers didn't wanted us to know about the flat or square model, we wouldn't have never known it. Okay, so that is there also the information and the books from all this time, the Enoch and everything is there because it's supposed to be there, and I don't think it has that much importance against the flat Earth that they're trying to hide it. You know, there are many much more things that they're hiding what they need to hide, how the really the system works. Okay, so I don't think it has that so much of importance of that difference. Okay, for us is enough that it's not a globe. Okay, and that's
yep,
where we are destroying already these controllers in a way that we are destroying the indoctrination they put on the masses, the hypnosis they have put in the masses. This is
yep,
just one part. For us, for me personally, this is just like the square is just like a concave part, you know, another variation or the hollow earth or any other format of not being a ball. You know,
Right.
it's not even
yeah,
exactly.
counting as importance. Yeah, go ahead.
Very well
Exactly.
said,
It's
Vika.
basically a segregation like they're trying to do to us. You know what I mean? Like they're trying
Yeah,
to
sure.
segregate the actual facts from a psyop controlled opposition forum, which has no credibility against observable, repeatable, testable experiments from people that have actually been on the airplane flights, been in the southern and northern hemisphere, and that have seen the actual star trajectories from the equator. And people like Eddie Alencar that have written books about airplane flights that have gone to the north and then to the south, and there's no airplane flights that have gone to the north, to the south, and then back up to the north. That doesn't make sense on the Pac-Man theory at all. And I don't mean to say it in a disrespectful way, shape, or form, but it's basically a segregation form of trying to say donkey and elephant, Democrat, Republican, black and white, Hispanic, Mexican, whatever. You know what I mean? They're trying to segregate the flat Earth movement when really we should all be united. Is really what the Toradol and Taurus and the Flower of Life and the Fibonacci sequence and the
so,
ratio of pi all consist of.
So
is
you don't.
all being together as one, and the
Mhm.
whole psyop of the square map is just not making sense to any of us, and that's basically what we're all trying to explain.
Well, to me, Kev, I
Yeah,
see
it's
it
just
absolutely
yeah.
differently. Can I just finish, Vika? I want to really address that. I can absolutely appreciate that. I'm sorry to interrupt, Vika, but I hear you what you're saying, Kev, and I see that it really comes down to my opinion of this is how they're controlling the narrative. It expresses one view versus the other. You have to pick: is it a ball or a circle, flat? And that's how they maintain their control. I'm saying that yeah, you may have your proofs of this and that, but ultimately what it comes down to is they always remain in control, and to be probably almost to say we can't be naive enough to believe they wouldn't be curtailing this awakening in their favor. So therefore, can't you see that that's how they're
There are a
curtailing
lot
this
of
awakening?
deception, James. James, there are a lot of deception in this world, okay? And this is maybe one of it also, but it's not that of higher importance for that for us to create more segregation, how Kevin says, okay?
Right.
It's
And
all
United,
part of the
yep.
study. It's all part of the research. What we all need to do is like chill out, relax a bit, about it. Than
Exactly.
even with globe authors, we don't need to really get like, yeah, no, your model is wrong, so you are everything wrong. So we have to have that, in a way, how you say, to don't take it so personally everything,
Right.
because okay, it's such a huge deception, it's going to destroy everybody. We have to look into it. There are many deceptions, brother, and many
Right.
that
And
we have not even heard about.
I'm gonna add
True.
to that, Vic. It's very well said. You know, united we stand, divided we fall. And believe me,
Yeah.
psyops is actually what they use to deceive us even more so. And believe me, they want to create the culture, destroy the people who are waking up from the matrix. They create hate. We need to unite in love and respect. And respectfully speaking, no, I don't think it's a square. And I think I do put more credence on just opening up your eyes every single day and trying to learn a little bit more. And I think we're never going to know all the answers. None of us will. However, we're always going to aspire to know more the next day, and I think that's really where I'm at with it. And because respectfully, I'm wrong sometimes. In this case, respectfully speaking, I think you're wrong. It's no big deal. Still love you, brother. It's just I don't think you're right. I don't think you should put all your eggs in one basket just because one guy you're impressed with. And
No,
you follow me? And
exactly.
that's
we
where
meet
I'm going with it.
I
we meet a
absolutely.
lot of people. We have a lot of different opinions. Even in flat earth, we have so much variations,
Yeah, they
and I
try to
know there are
destroy
people
it.
in flat
Yep.
earth. Yeah, and there are people in flat earth who really hate AE maps,
Yeah.
and that's creating much more division, and but it's okay. There are some people who are supposed to be and do what they're supposed to do. But the only thing is that unite us in a way that is not a globe. That's the most important part. And where
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
instead of you saying that the A is the problem, no, the problem is the globe. Okay, that's the problem. Okay,
That is a problem.
your
Yep. And
variation, my variation, their variation, no problem. Because if we start, everybody know this is we're gonna just cross it up. No, no, that's it. It's the wrong model, and that's not happening. No, so it's gonna create, and as Mark said, as Kevin said, there's information with a bit of truth, with disinformation, gatekeeping, more dividing.
Right.
Already we are divided with as we spoke about, with the religious aspect, with our race, with our nation, with our football team, with our interest, with our so everything. So why not all these other variations? So more or less, what we could do is try to understand all in a bit, because we are not saying that you mentioned us about the square earth and we are just denying it. We know about our square earth, we know what they think, we know about that, but we have been studying flat earth too, and from quite a long time. And it's not just one aspect because of two or three, as we said. No, there are many different aspects that creates the whole picture why we think about the magnetic north and the navel of the earth. or the tree of life, and how everything works, because it's the whole picture together. That's why we're sticking to the circular or the magnetic center, and there's a whole lot of aspects, countless, because if we go in every aspect and if we dig in detail, we could be here for days, so
Yeah.
Hell,
so yeah, we are quite
that would invite
off the
me here
topic.
for days.
Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know. Hey, guys, just want to say thanks, okay? Because, of course, there's obviously, it's going to come down to how to end this deception. And I feel like my final point is they play one card versus the other, ball versus flat. We don't have a third choice. Well, that's where I come in and say maybe there is a third choice. I'm going to remain open-minded. Absolutely. I know it's a little out there right now, the square, but I'm going to allow my observations of the cosmos, and I'll, report to you guys, obviously, as an honest observer. And the more we can learn, maybe we can figure out what's going on and how to end this deception. That's my goal. I want to know the truth. And I'm less
Amen.
concerned about unity. I
Oh
want
yeah.
truth. Truth
Oh
will
yeah, and
win,
definitely
guys.
that's why, because we when the concave Earth came out, every flat earther saw the documentary, you know,
Mm.
and we were
Yeah.
happy that it was not a globe. They have a strange model, like a toilet bowl with with the two parts, so, but it was interesting because it was not a globe. So we aren't very close about it, and that's why we observe and we study and we research too. If there's something interesting comes out, the same thing will
Yeah.
happen with the map of the moon, and there are people who agree, there are people who don't agree, but it's there for people to, and if they resonate with it, why not? So the thing is, till now we don't resonate with us, and we don't resonate with it. Maybe who knows, no? So, but at least the majority who are here or in the chat or who are gonna listen, or the whole flat earth community itself prefers the magnetic north.
Yep.
I think there would be a lot more videos out of that, and that could be like a big smoking gun for these guys to have something like that flying around all over the place. I never heard of a video, or I never heard of
No,
that before personally.
I think, yeah, I agree.
It
I
could be.
know.
I think right away. Also, I think it's reverse. So I don't know. Maybe something to look out for. But send me that video if you could, please. Definitely throw that in the chat. We
For
Absolutely.
sure.
gotta see that.
Yep.
Did
Very
we
interesting.
solve did we solve anything tonight, guys? I don't know. Well, I mean, we had a good talk though, right? I appreciate it, man. Even just to share these ideas, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not. Absolutely. I have to figure this out too. But just to bounce these ideas about what could be, man, it's important. So I hope I was, on par with the Enoch model, in never meaning to disrespect it. I would like someone who knows more about it to come and speak up, because I find it intriguing. So therefore, hey, maybe we can continue to have these good conversations, right? And the chat too. I'm sure the live chat is still going. You guys out there, you agree? I hope you liked it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you for the chat.
Oh yeah, yeah. And the main reason we are here is for this too. Apart from, as we spoke about the world cosmologies and how similarities there are, and the same thing goes with the in a kind of, in a way of faith and religion too. So as we spoke about also before in other podcasts, the problem with the world right now is because of the division. Like there's so much of division in every aspect that is so difficult to have everybody on the same page. In a way, because that's how the elite or the controllers are still in function, because of all our differences. And our main
That's right.
reason for this topic was to show that if we speak about the magnetic north and how the different cosmologies are showing the same thing. If we see, we also have memes of the tree in the center in all other different cosmologies. If we are same, if the core information is the same, if the root information is the same, so why there should be there differences between us? Even if there are people who are trying to create that differences and tell us, no, we shouldn't this is not right. If as we know, you all know what I mean. So the important is, if our cosmologies are the same, we share the same sound. We How can we be different in other aspects? In our religion, faith wise. Can you off the mic? Everybody, can you off the mic, please? Because I'm getting an echo. Yeah. So why should we have these differences if on faith level, on or a creator or spiritual level, the cosmology level, the creation stories, the if they are so similar, so why should we have this division? So I think the more important, okay, as we said too, the flat earth brings us closer to the creator, right? But we have to understand and respect that everyone have their own creator, and we have no rights to say which is the creator and which is the wrong and which is the right and which model is the right and which cosmology is the wrong. We are not in right of anything. All we have to do is respect everybody in a way. That's the only way out, because flat earth is not only about reaching to the creator. It's also reaching closer to our friends, as I mentioned, that we have to get close to our fellow human beings, respect their way of life, their faith, and the way their culture, and that's how we could be one. Even the books, every book speaks about flat earth, because as somebody was mentioning in our chat, that maybe the Bible is the one which speaks about flat earth. No, every book speaks about flat earth, same way every cosmology speaks about flat earth, every creation story speaks about flat earth. So why the differences? I know there are, in this community, there are people who are really who are running groups and trying to divide the flat earth community from this religious aspect, demonizing the rest. So one example could be, for demonizing yoga, for example. Okay, if you are not, maybe for Bible believer, you are a liar, or you are the deceiver, or even, for example, Eric Dubai, because he does his meditation, he does his yoga. Now, for him, everybody, he's a liar, he's a new age guy, he's a Mason. People have freedom to feel what they want. Why you think that guy is not there in the West, and he's in the East doing his meditation? Because he got out of this matrix, in a way. So we have to respect everybody, the way of life they choose. We are in no right to say I am the right and you are the wrong. We have no rights. And that's the most important thing we have to be as a flat earther, is to get closer and forget the differences and unite everybody, no matter what their life, what their way they think, what is their faith, what is their culture, what is their way, whatever whatever it is, because that's the most important. I think it is, as a flat earther. We all know the earth is flat. Okay, we know the NASA is deceptioning, the controller deception. We all know that. Okay, we're not going to try to prove to anybody that the earth is flat. We feel it, we perceive it, we see it. What we need to do is to get together and stop this division, which is happening in this flat earth community, and there are many flat earthers who are doing that. Okay, and you all know that. All right, so more or less that was supposed to be the whole topic of today, of the world flat earth cosmology, and how it's so similarly we see in all the construction, we see many in the books, in every shape, way, and form. They try to show us what it is, where is the north, what is the tree of life, what it possibly this place could be, if if we could if we could try to define in words. All right, we're going to be having last thoughts, and we're going to be wrapping up, guys. So
Okay. Can anyone hear me?
yep,
Yeah,
go
yeah, we
ahead,
can hear
James.
you.
Oh, okay. Can I I guess I'm going first. Okay. Well, guys, yeah. Obviously, I appreciate just listening. Thank you tonight. Okay. I know that ultimately what it comes down to, yeah, we have to have open minds when it comes to our ideas about what our realm could be. So I know right now there's a lot of division, and that's the last thing I wanted to do. Absolutely, I feel you and I understand it. What we're after is trying to end this deception. So I seek the truth, and sometimes if that doesn't align with everyone and causes more division, that's not the intention. I really just wanted to ask some questions, and I feel like I got some of them clarified, but not others not so much. So therefore, I will remain open-minded about what this realm could be. That's the best stance I can say. I'm not going to be promoting the square, and nor am I going to be promoting the circle. I'm going to just be an honest observer, and that's the best way I can go about it. So thanks for having this chat tonight. That's all I want to say.
Awesome, brother. Pleasure to have you, bro.
Thank you,
Who's
brother.
going next?
I don't think anybody wants to go next. We want to discuss this thing the rest of the night, buddy. You say let's in the division. I was thinking, well, when we're going to end the discussion. No, I'm kidding. I love being here, Vika. Thank you for inviting me. I think it's a fascinating discussion, and yeah, obviously we need to be open-minded about everything. As far as but as far as the division, people, we know who they are, they everywhere, and I think it does. There's bunches of psyops, new age philosophy, the psyop of what this is or what it's not, as far as, whether it's a square or a circle or a globe. But, I don't think I woke up one morning and said, oh, by the way, the earth is flat. I don't think anybody is a flat earther wants to be mocked and ridiculed and made fun of. Hell, half the world thinks we're freaking retarded. You know what I mean? So do you think I enjoy being a flat earther? Obviously not. But you know what? The more knowledge that you seek, the more knowledge is given. But as I suggested earlier, you need to connect the spiritual world with your flesh being, because for you to acquire more knowledge, it's going to take that. And that's for everybody on this panel, including myself. So that's all I got to say. Vika, thank you for having me, and great discussion, guys. I love you guys, and I really enjoyed it tonight.
Thanks, buddy.
Oh yeah. Thanks, Mark. Make sure guys to check Mark's book, Flat Truth. Awesome author. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, brother.
Who's next? Keith, Kevin,
Hey, I'll go.
Keith, you good, or I can go ahead
Yeah,
and go? I just had a
I
couple
was-
of facts I was going to go ahead and spit out before we wrap this up. I completely understand the unity that needs to be happening, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it again, like I have before on your podcast. If we're going to go deep down this rabbit hole to find out we are created, we might as well find out who the creator is. And I'm just going to spit a couple of facts right here when it comes to Cornelius Tacitus, which lived from 56 AD to 117 AD, right around the time of Guess Who's life, who straight up writes, Christus, meaning Christ, suffered the extreme penalty during the reign of Tiberius at the hands of one of our procreators, which means an agent representing others in a court of law in countries retaining Roman civil law, who was Pontius Pilate. So we have non-Christian historians that confirm the existence of Jesus Christ, his miracles, his crucifixions under Pontius Pilate, and his resurrection. Let alone we have the Pilate stone of Pontius Pilate and his story, which is literally written in stone as an ancient artifact. We were talking about ancient artifacts the entire night for archaeology facts. Let alone we have a guy named Nelson Gleek, who was the main archaeologist of his time, who straight up says there's never been one scripture that has ever been disproven in the New Testament. We can keep going when it comes to one of my favorites, the burial box of James, the brother of Jesus, which went on to a 7-year forgery trial, which literally says James, son of Joseph, brother of Jesus. If you guys are going to go that deep down this rabbit hole, we might as well know who did it, which is Jesus Christ, the way, the truth, and the life. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I appreciate you, Vikka.
I second that motion. Kevin, Jesus Christ is King. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Kev.
All right. Thanks for being here, Kevin. Pleasure always. Keith or Gene,
Yeah,
whoever wants to go.
I'll go, Gene. You can wrap it up for us. Uh,
Mhm.
the bottom line of flat Earth is that there is no curvature. You cannot observe, measure, or repeat convexity on the surface of any body of water. I think if we go back to this conversation of the square versus the round, I've never seen or heard of an observation of the sun going straight. It's all out of all the ancient cosmologies have it going in a circle around the center. I think if you look at the analemma, it says that the sun is going in a circuit, tighter in the north and much larger in the south. And then the flights, I think all of the flights that like JFK to Moscow, I mentioned earlier, you can actually watch yourself. You can watch the sun go into circuit around the magnetic north. So I don't see how there's any possible way that the square is a legitimate answer for what the earth is. But as Vika has said, and you said it great, so the square is not the problem, the globe is the problem. Vika, that was great. And that's what I think that's what we need to unite around, is that the globe and the Big Bang nonsense and the evolution nonsense and the dinosaur nonsense, all of that stuff is the problem. Because it hides whoever the intelligent designer is. It hides who God is. And I understand Mark and Kevin completely. I grew up in it, that Christ is the creator. I get that 100%. But I am 100% against all organized religion, including Christianity. So that's my closing points. That's my opinion. I will keep researching, just like you guys will keep researching, and do my best to seek and find. Thanks for having me again, Dika.
Well said. Well
Awesome,
said.
Keith. Always pleasure, bro.
Thanks,
Gene.
Keith.
Hey, brothers. There's an interesting conversation tonight. Yeah, it didn't make much sense to me when I first saw it either. So, it was, I don't know if it makes any more sense, but I'd like to see that video and check it out thoroughly. I think there would be more, and I think more of us would have might have heard about something like that if I don't know what it's about, but I'm interested in looking at it. Yeah, I'm kind of hammered down on how we were talking about it. It's this, it's this the globe that's the problem. That is this that's a great way to put it, Vika. And yeah, I wish we could have got more into the conversation about the buildings that these guys were taught that built back in those days and where they are and their functions and the lost ones that they're just digging out of the jungles that people haven't seen for hundreds of years. It's fascinating stuff what's going on. And Vika, thanks for putting the show together. It was great to be here. Very interesting. And thanks to everyone in the chat. It was great to see you guys. I hope you're having fun out there. Um, and we'll see you next time, guys. Have a great week. It was great to be here. Thank you all.
Thanks, Jeannie.
Thanks, brother. And yeah,
Thanks.
we didn't even touch the surface in details about those structures and the subterranean lands and the higher realms and how it
Yeah.
works on a spiritual level. And so yeah,
All
the
right.
importance is that we see how one they are in every aspect, in every way. They are different variations, but they show how the realm could be, through their construction, through their books, through their culture, through their way of, so yeah, people, all we have to do is stay together, and that's, and not
Yeah,
create
like I said,
division. And
I was saying before, guys. It's like these guys are organized. Like Vika said it too. The globe is the problem. That's the organization. We're just organizing now. We're trying to find each other now. So it's like those little curveballs that they're throwing. They have to try and catch them
oh
all. I
yeah,
guess.
yeah, and true, Jeannie. And yeah, I'll close up with this, what I think could be this realm. For me, it's a flat realm with a north magnetic tree of life, or the North Pole, or whatever you want to call it, or Rupas Nigra, or so many different names, Mount Meru, or Kunlun, or the navel of the earth, or whatever we want to call it. And this is of only what we perceive, because we humans according to the known science, we use only 7 to 10% of the brain. The rest of the brain we don't use. So you imagine there is more than 70 to 80% we really don't know that exists here. And it is possible to use more power than the 10% of the brain and try to realize what could be happening, what else exists in this realm. But that is for another whole topic in itself, some other time. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Thank you, Gene, Kevin,
Thank you,
Mark,
brother.
James.
Thanks, brother.
Make sure you guys check it out next week on another episode of Heliopsychosis podcast. Bye, everyone.
Love you
Night,
guys.
everybody. Thank you.
Much love.
Astronauts to the moon.
Houston, we have a problem.